Hello and welcome to 1 Week, 1 Year, a podcast where we watch and discuss every year of film history in order, starting in 1895, the dawn of cinema. This episode is 1952, the dawn of three-dimensional cinema. I'm one of your hosts, Chris Ellie. I'm a film projectionist, and joining me as always is...
I'm Glenn Covell, a filmmaker.
And we're reshooting this part because we forgot to do it with 3D glasses on.
And what is the point of this entire episode if we don't do it wearing 3D glasses?
How many dimensions are you feeling like, Glenn?
You know, I was only feeling like two, but right now, I'm feeling a whole third dimension
My God, he's gone to
depth.
3D.
My God.
And that's how you get continuity with the stuff we filmed earlier. What's up, Glenn? What's going on in your filmmaker world?
Not a whole lot. I got a couple pokers in the fire. Is that a thing people say?
Mm-hmm.
But as per usual, I only want to make things that are uh, difficult to produce. So
Monster related.
generally monster related, yeah. I think everything that I'm currently working on is somehow monster related or adjacent. So yeah.
Why don't they make any less expensive monsters?
I mean, and it's monsters. It costs money to make monsters, you know.
Yeah.
It's actually, I actually feel like the monsters are not the problem I'm running into. It's more the places than the monsters themselves. But
why don't they make less expensive places?
that I agree with. That I very much agree with, both in film locations and also just places to live.
Yeah, man, you're in New York City, the place where it costs money to just stand there.
Yeah, pretty much.
I just wrapped up a little trip to the Pacific Northwest, and I went to a lovely video store. Not Scarecrow Video. I should have gone to Scarecrow Video, but I wasn't able to go. I was in Seattle, and I wasn't able to go. But I went to a different video store that was also lovely. That was in Portland, which has so many cool little indie theaters, and I regret to say that I'm becoming the tote bag, and I really liked it, but projection related, I guess we're still doing some prints from the Library of Congress, or doing some musicals coming up soon. Some that we've covered on the podcast, actually a number that we've covered on the podcast, including Singing in the Rain, which is ostensibly this year, and
True.
An American Paris, which is last year.
Nice.
But yeah, speaking of movies, we're a movie podcast. If you don't know,
True.
we're not a filmmaker and projectionist podcast. We don't matter.
I know there's so many of those already.
Yeah, what the world needs is another podcast that's about movies. But it's also a little bit about history, just a little bit. So we like to give ourselves a little bit of context for what's going on in 1952. Glenn, what is that context?
The news of the year, 1952. Princess Elizabeth becomes queen, beginning the longest reign of any British monarch in history. Cyborgs among us, the mechanical heart is used on a human. Fallout of the ungraceful end of colonialism. Marginalization based on Bengali and Urdu languages erupts into violence and protests in Dhaka. Fulgencio Batista, lagging in the polls in his bid for re-election, stages a coup in Cuba and establishes friendly relations with U.S. businesses. John Cage's 433 premieres. The United States develops and tests the first hydrogen bomb. The Bolivian National Revolution occurs with shared support from liberals and communists. They establish universal suffrage and nationalize the mines. XGI becomes blonde beauty. Christine Jorgensen makes headlines as the first American to undergo sex reassignment surgery. The Screen Actors Guild negotiates the first actor contracts that include residuals. In Burston v. Wilson, the Supreme Court unanimously overturns its previous precedent, declaring that films are fully protected free speech under the First Amendment.
And that is all the news that is fit to print. Apologies to Chris for rewriting some of his very funny jokes in the headlines.
Do I just say what my joke is now?
That's the only way you're going to get it on the show. So
it premiered, John Cage's 433 premiered in Woodstock it's the first Woodstock not music festival.
But that isn't a thing.
Of course, it's not a thing. Is every joke jokes are about things that aren't
I know,
things.
but I don't know. The joke doesn't work for me.
Yeah, yeah. Write in, audience. Tell me if you think my 433 joke is funny, with the explanation that I gave of the joke.
I mean, it is also confusing that the music festival Woodstock is not in the town Woodstock, but
That did
John
confuse me the
Cage's
first time that
433
I
did
yeah,
premiere in the actual town Woodstock,
yeah.
not at Bethel Woods where the music festival is.
Yeah, 433, by the way.
This is all
This
getting cut from
this
the episode.
No! What? You're gonna do me like this again? The
Yeah,
other thing I
once you
should
once you say something's cut from the episode, that guarantees that it stays in.
Right. My little anecdote about 433 is that on the dating app Tinder, you can set a song as your anthem, and I set it as 433.
That is A plus trolling right there. That is
Isn't it? Isn't it?
chef's kiss. Yeah.
Yeah. I was very pleased with myself. Also because it was kind of hard to make it work. Like like
Sure.
I had to do some like
It's hard to tell
weird
if it's playing or not.
yeah, but it's like I had to do some like weird search strings in order to get it to like connect to a Spotify recording of 433.
There is a Spotify recording of 433.
Of course.
Okay. Why did you say it like Bane? Of course.
Anyway, movies.
Anyway, we're here to talk about movies today.
And let's start with One Week, One Reel.
Indeed.
Let's start with Duck and Cover.
Yeah. Well, this short is famous, right? Not just the concept of ducking and covering. Like this.
I think that this short is the most well-known, you know,
Cultural
iteration
depiction.
of the
Yeah.
phrase duck and cover. I
Yeah.
think duck and cover is immortally linked with Bert the Turtle, especially to people who've seen The Iron Giant.
Right. Yeah. Which was probably, I mean, definitely where I first saw this short in any form.
Certainly I as well. Yeah, this is a film that was commissioned or put together by the United States government only 7 years after the Trinity test. Already how much the world has changed. Educational films going out to students in schools, advising them on how to respond and be vigilant for nuclear holocaust.
Yeah.
Um,
No big deal.
Great vibes. You got to wonder if I feel like I need to talk to some people who were children in the 50s and ask them like how much the kind of Cold War paranoia influenced them.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
I, I wonder if they all have generalized anxiety disorders.
I'm just gonna go. I just assume everyone has some sort of generalized anxiety.
No, I'm chill.
Yeah. I don't
Yeah.
believe you. Yeah, it's funny watching this. It feels kind of both kind of sensationalistic in its sort of like you gotta be ready. Like you have to be ready at all times just to like an atom bomb might go off like at any point. You can't ever like not be ready. But at the same time, it also feels kind of almost like a little naive and a little kind of
Just
like
hide under your
understated.
desk and you'll be okay.
Right. Which I mean, I was trying to like read up on this. Like there is, if you're far enough away where it's like it's gonna like blow out the windows and things like that, that is good advice. But
Yeah, but
right, if
it
you like,
leaves completely unstated the fact that if you are in the
if you
direct
know
blast
that
zone,
right,
you will
if
be vaporized. There's
right,
no
if you're like
opportunity to duck and
anywhere
cover
close,
because you won't
yeah,
exist anymore.
right, that part, right. It is, even though this is meant to educate people about the dangers of the atomic bomb, it is so, it feels so kind of sanitized at the same time of just like,
Yeah.
there'll be a bright flash and you gotta, stand under a window, a doorway or something. And it's like, well, if you're like thousands of miles away, sure.
Well, not thousands, but like if you're maybe dozens or hundreds or
Sure,
like
yeah, yeah,
100
yeah.
miles away. I
I'm
mean, I
being
think
slightly hyperbolic, perhaps.
something about this that feels a little rich is that they filmed this in Astoria. They filmed this in New
Mm.
York City. All of those children would be vaporized,
Oh,
right?
yeah. Oh,
Like
yeah.
this is intended for children outside of New York City because all of the children in New York City in an event of a nuclear of a atomic bomb would not be the ones who would have the opportunities to duck and cover.
Right. Yeah.
The other thing about this is that like this responding to the kind of concussive blasts and heat related to atomic bombs, an atomic bomb explosion, but not the nuclear part. It's basically like, I guess what I was reading is that anybody who is close enough to the initial explosion to be affected by the radiation immediately would more or less be, you're going to have bigger problems than ducking and covering. And so this is for people in like the outer area where before the nuclear fallout reaches you, you can protect yourselves from the heat and concussion by I guess the radiation does not travel as far as
Mm.
fast. But you know, that is definitely beyond my understanding.
Yeah. But yeah, like, even though it is like a 50s educational film, it feels quite grim.
Yeah, especially because it's all about children. Yeah,
Turtles notwithstanding. Right, yeah, that too. And it definitely made me just kind of like think about just, schools should be a safe place and they're not. Um
true.
it also
God, yeah. Oh man, like our modern day version of this is like a
I don't know.
it's like a school shooter like video. Like
Right.
here's how to protect yourself if this
Where it
happens in
is
your
like
school.
duck and cover is like, hey, get under your desk. Now kids have to do like full on like drills of like what to do.
Oh my god,
Yeah.
jeez.
Uh Awful, terrifying, hate it. Um I was also reminded of like the Blitz in England. I don't
Hmm.
know I've seen any like educational films about that, but right, just like the concept of just like you're going about your everyday life and you might get bombed like at any point, which is a thing that I think just Americans don't really have much experience with. And this is like one of the only examples that I know of like that kind of being put out into the culture of just like trying to get people to be more aware or just like, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, right. Like we are in the early era of ICBMs and
Mhm.
like the concept of America being bombed is like just a brand new concept
Right.
basically.
Yeah.
And yeah, the geographic isolation definitely gave America a lot of privilege in the world wars in terms of not having to directly confront things like the Blitz. Um, but yeah, it's interesting just seeing this as like a piece of Cold War paranoia, you know.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
it's called for, like you're saying, it's like overstating and understating. It's called for
Mhm.
and it's uncalled for. Like this did never happen, but like everybody was worried that it would, and maybe it was realistic to
Right.
think that it would at a certain point in history. It's interesting. It's
Yeah.
an interesting watch. There's also a cartoon turtle that hides in his shell.
Right, yeah, and even that, like, that adds to that kind of slightly uncanny tone that it has too, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I think the animation feels very, like, distinctly 1950s compared to, I think in a similar way to some of the animation in, the Alice in Wonderland. I don't know, I'm starting to see sort of, like, animation trends kind of shifting in the early
Mm,
1950s, where it's like the animation in this short feels very 1950s as opposed to like the like whatever like Private Snafu or something, which feels
that's
distinctly
true.
1940s.
Yeah, I guess that's true. And like, you know, there's a lot of other things that have this 1950s feel about them. I feel like these educational films, like we've seen a lot of them from the
Hmm.
50s. There's the
They get
Cold War
parodied a
aspect
lot.
of it.
Yeah,
Um, and then like even the music, the like dum dum deedle
yeah,
dum dum. There was a turtle by the name of Bert. It's a very, yeah, very 50s.
yeah. Which is it's funny to see that like how much. stuff kind of, I guess, we associate with like 50s culture is like, it feels like there's a pretty quick shift in like between 1950 and like 51, 52, where it's like all that 50s stuff gets established really quickly.
Yeah, and, like, I mean, it's just shocking to me. Like, I think that part of the byproduct of doing this year by year is getting a bit more of, like, a lived sense of the pace of how world events
Hmm.
move, and I think one of the more shocking things to me lately is just, like, how quickly we launched from, like, "The war is over," to, like, "Another war. We're scared of Russia." Like, it's like, it it became the Cold War so quickly, and they were, like, so fully in it. Um, with The Day the Earth Stood Still, it's like, it barely had any time to rest after Hitler died, and, like and now, like, we're in the middle of the Korean War at this point.
Yeah. The 1950s, bad times. Funny that a certain type of person often cites 1950s as like the good old days.
Yeah. Make America afraid of nuclear weapons again.
Oh dear.
Oh dear.
Yeah, glad I've never actually watched Duck and Cover all the way through. So glad to have
I think I
at least
had. Yeah.
seen it.
But
Yeah,
yeah, it's a very interesting kind of cultural artifact for sure.
definitely.
Speaking of US and Soviet relations,
Mm,
let's hop over to our other short, which is Neighbours. Bours, because this is a Canadian film from a
indeed.
Scottish director. So we're not none of that BORS crap. Uh,
we're gonna have some extra U's in there just for fun.
just for a little color.
Uh,
Uh,
ah.
this is by Norman McLaren, kind of famous. What do you call it? Like experimental filmmaker.
Sure. Almost like, I don't know. I don't know. Not really video. I was gonna say video artists, but they're not videos. They're films. But art using film as much as they are films.
Yeah, and this film certainly has. I think you're watching it, and maybe less so than some of his others, but
I mean, this
the
is like, seems like this is pretty traditional
yeah, but like there's
for
certainly
his
an
work.
awareness of the film, right? This
Hmm.
is a film that uses pixelation, um,
Not to be
which
confused with pixelization,
pixel
which i- which is a different thing.
yes, pixil. We're doing a lot of spelling in this episode. Uh, pixelation, which
Yeah.
is the using which is stop motion animating using human beings.
Yeah.
In particular, it's using a technique which I remember seeing for the first time in some like very early YouTube videos in 2005 or 6
Hmm.
of people floating in the air by like jumping up and down over and
Right.
over again
Yeah.
and just using the part where they're in the air. Yeah, what
And
happens in this movie,
it makes their
Glenn?
legs kind of vibrate.
Yeah.
But two fellas who live next to each other in a sort of heightened cartoon lawn, and a flower grows between their two houses. And at first, they love the flower. They're dancing around it. They're like, what a great time we're having with this flower. It's so great." And then they each tried to kind of lay claim to the flower by drawing a line across like their property line. Like, no, the flower's on my side. No, the flower's on my side. And then one tries to build a fence, and the other one tries to build a fence, and it escalates and escalates to the point where they have destroyed each other's houses and each other's families, and ripped each other to pieces, and also destroyed the flower. And then the movie ends with the phrase "Love thy neighbor" in like 8 different languages.
Yeah. This movie has a very kind of it's like a lot of dualities going on. It starts with them reading newspapers, and one says war certain
Mm,
if no peace, and the other one says peace certain if no war.
right,
Uh,
which right are like different phrases that mean the exact same thing, kind of. And or there's kind of a yin yang quality to it.
Yeah, it is about like war and peace and yours and mine and like division and oneness.
Yeah, and
Uh
there's no dialogue.
yes, and it's
It is
all like
it
yeah,
is a silent picture.
and then stop motion. Well, it's got synchronized sound effects
Sure. Yeah.
and music and that kind of thing. But uh and the sound effects do kind of emphasize a lot of the action in a pleasing way.
Hmm.
But
The sound effects are very interesting. I feel like we'll get into that in a second, or maybe we'll get into it now. I don't know.
yeah, I mean, this movie is uh it's very it's very didactic, but I don't think that it is like it doesn't have the vibe of something that's preaching, I guess. I think it's artfully done
Right.
enough
Yeah.
that like it feels like it's kind of getting at big themes rather than saying like, "Hey, don't be selfish," you know?
Right. But I think it's like um it's very right. I think I just used the word heightened already, but it's like it is very heightened. It's very almost kind of cartoonish.
Mm.
And it is like
Iconographic.
yeah, and it's not subtle in its points, right? It like ends with like a phrase being repeated in lots of different languages, being like, "This is the
Yeah.
thesis." Even though it's very kind of couched in kind of like North American early 50s kind of iconography, it does feel like it is such a sort of like broad universal themes of just sort of like cut that out. War dumb. Like
Yeah.
the things that we fight over are so kind of arbitrary and pointless, and it's like it is a almost kind of like childlike approach, and it's just it is boiled down to its absolute like simplest form.
Yeah. And like I think there's a lot of good stuff in this that sort of it like subtle things that take the simple message and make it a bit richer.
Hmm.
Um like there's implications that like that kind of suburban pipe smoking father knows best kind of like
Hmm.
archetype is sort of built and like suburbia, you know, 1950s
Yeah.
suburbia is built around some kind of inherent violence. uh
Mm.
Almost like Blue Velvet, it has like there
Mm.
is a violence lurking in the suburbs, you know, in this idyllic American suburbs. um and there is like, you know, that it starts in this like like harmonious space where people
Right.
are able to share and be free, and the moment that possession becomes a factor, it starts getting aggressive. The wholeness, the oneness is separated into different people. And speaking to what I was saying before, it is visualizing that with a white picket fence, right?
Hmm.
Which like yeah,
Yeah.
it all gels. It all really gels.
Yeah. Yeah. I also think like that like sense of harmoniousness in like the kind of suburbia setting. To me, I really felt like it is like very. It's really like putting a pin in the idea like this. Everyone could be fine. Like if we all just
Mhm.
we, like truly, if we could all get along, everything would be okay. And just like that someone has to go and ruin it, like things are fine, like there isn't some external force coming in. It is like two people that go from just like sitting next to each other reading the paper and like having a nice afternoon to turning into like crazed violent creatures almost.
Yeah. There is like a they become brutes, they become animals when they're like taken over by this feeling of possession, right? I think notable, this is kind of feeding into a silent or not silent, a short film trend that makes a lot of sense for why people write them this way, but like it ends up bothering me, is having like a cute little ironic ending, right? That being said, like I think what you know it makes sense here, which is like
Hmm.
they're living in a you know peaceful zone. Something beautiful comes into that zone. At first, they appreciate it on its own terms. They are like, "Wow, look at this beautiful thing." When they get possessive over it, in the end, they crush the flower,
Hmm.
and in their quest to
They destroy the very thing they were fighting over.
Exactly. In their quest to possess the thing of beauty, they destroy the beauty and
Mm.
destroy themselves in the process.
Mm-hmm. And everything else that each of them love and have. Right? They each have a house. Those get destroyed. There is a wife and child in each of the houses. Those are both killed in a bit that was cut out. I found out later
Yeah.
because it was deemed too violent. And I will say that bit did sort of surprise me when like they're like punting a baby off screen, which because
Yeah.
it's stop motion they get away with it. But it was sort of like, oh damn, this movie is going harder than I expected it to.
Yeah. I mean, definitely having implications of like, standard suburban life, like having domestic violence built inside.
Mhm.
Although they're
Not like
they're
domestic violence, but just
attacking.
like the murdering of a baby
Yeah.
is not something I don't think has ever been. I don't know if I've seen portrayed in a movie this early. There have definitely been, in infanticide in films before this, but I feel like it's always maybe a little bit more subtly alluded to. Whereas in this, it is like, literally like just someone throwing a baby off screen. I don't think it's a mistake that it's a little bit funny.
Yeah.
Just a
Yeah. I mean,
little bit.
the thing is,
It's
like you're saying, it's
it's
live
it's
action, but it's cartoony.
yeah, it's slapstick. There's a lot of slapstick in this too.
Right. Yeah, like the ways that they start drawing the lines, right? That
Mhm.
speaking of like the ways they start drawing the lines are like they can like they're using the animation of the human beings to like they move their hand through the air and as they move it the fence is sort of
Mhm.
built where they're pointing.
Yeah.
Really cool. They're using that stuff for like cartoony purposes, I
Mhm.
suppose. I forgot to mention earlier that like the end is they crush the flower and then they both die and they only get what they want in death, which is that like flowers grow on their graves.
Mm.
uh
Mm.
yeah, I think this is a very good film.
Me too. And so did the Academy of Motion Pictures Arts and Sciences in 1953 because they gave it the Academy Award for Best Short Film.
Live action.
Right,
uh
which is a bit of a possible category fraud to call this live action because
hey two
it is live actors, but it is also animation.
Yeah, the Academy put out a press release in 2005 saying that this was among a group of films that not only competed but won Academy Awards in what were clearly inappropriate categories.
I didn't know that. That's really funny. So even the Academy acknowledged that it didn't really belong in that category.
Oh, I guess I should mention also that
Although I
the
think the one that won the Oscar was the censored one without the
yes,
infanticide.
yeah,
Yeah,
the Americans wouldn't have gone for that.
sure. I also think is a bit surprising that this movie won the Oscar in that it is so. I mean, I think it is very like I said, like very big and broad in its themes, but it does feel it was made by a communist, and I feel like that
Yeah.
comes through. Like it does feel like
Yes.
a at least somewhat communist leaning movie in its kind of worldview.
Yeah, in particular, talking about like it's going from like a pure state of no private property to
Right.
the existence of private property. And the existence of private property, like it is showing the inherent violence of the creation of a concept of private property as opposed to personal property. But
I maybe this movie isn't necessarily communist in its themes, but it does feel certainly anti-capitalist.
oh, it's communist. No. I mean like I
I
don't
mean,
think it's like
I do think that was the intention, but I think it's kind of so broad that
right. It's like not advocating for communism specifically. It is just like clearly coming from a like it is a critique of something that you can critique from many angles, but it is coming from an angle that is decidedly communist.
sure, yeah, and that's I find it somewhat surprising that like in 1952 in Hollywood, a place that was not not a safe place to be openly communist,
What?
that this won the Oscar. Somehow a rascally Scottish Canadian.
Speaking of those filthy reds, do you
Well,
want to get to
we
our
gotta talk about the sound real
oh, the
quick.
sound. Okay. Yeah,
Because
yeah,
the
yeah.
sound I think is really interesting, and that the sound and the music are both done by painting directly onto the strip of film, like where the soundtrack is.
Oh, I didn't know that he did the sound with that technique in this film.
Yeah, and it gives it this very weird, almost like video gamey, like bleeps and bloops kind of sounds. But just the fact that that is the way that like sound on film works, that you can just like paint shapes onto it and it will make sounds, I think is very cool.
Yeah, I would love to play around with that kind of thing more. I've drawn on film a little bit. Nothing
Mm.
important. But I didn't really get it to sound like anything. But you sent me a really interesting video that was detailing his process.
Yeah,
And
we'll link that in the description or something too.
yes, it's a technique that I mean, pixelation and drawing sound on film are both not techniques that he invented, but
Hmm.
definitely it was all in the kind of scene of the experimental film stuff going on at the time. And yeah, it's like I think it's interesting. It reminds me of that like whole like Brian Eno quote about how the kind of like peculiarities that I'm completely massacring this quote right now, but it's like the
Hmm.
peculiarities and the specificity of a certain medium will end up becoming its like defining traits. You know,
Mm.
like
Hmm.
hiss becomes the defining trait of tape, which people might end like using uh, intentionally, right?
Right. Yeah.
Uh, and like the medium, film itself becomes almost the most essential expression of film, I
Hmm.
suppose. Pixelation, especially done this way, it is calling attention to the artifice, right? Like you
Hmm. Yeah.
are not looking at this and having any thought that it is a real recording because it's very obviously fake. And so you are inspired to think about like the creation of it
Mm.
and the
Mm.
process of creating it.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Yeah,
I'm a fan.
yeah,
Neighbors, good movie.
yeah.
Then I suppose we shall move on to our feature presentation.
And now we're pleased to bring you our feature presentation.
Speaking of those filthy reds, let's talk about High Noon.
Is High Noon a commie picture?
Some say it is. John Wayne
Interesting.
thinks it is. Howard
Well,
Hawks thinks it is.
John Wayne, I think, thinks a lot of things, and I'm not sure if we should be listening to his opinions. But yeah, High Noon, pretty famous western.
Yeah, I first heard about this in like in college English class a very long time ago. And like the professor was kind of touting this as like an interesting or good movie. I don't really remember any of the details, but
Hmm.
I remember thinking like someday I'll watch this, and I thought it was quite good.
And
I
this
liked
this
it.
was your first watch.
Yes.
Oh, nice, nice. It's funny. I had seen this movie before. I think either in college or maybe like right before. And I remember thinking similar. I mean, like, oh, this is a really good western. And I don't know, for whatever reason, I feel like my reaction felt muted on this watch.
Wow.
I don't know if I was just in the wrong mood or whatever. I just, but yeah, I was sort of like, oh yeah, High Noon is not hitting the same way I remember it
Well, baby, I'm riding
being. So
high on a first time watch, and I
great, yeah.
I thought that it was really good.
I mean,
This
there's
is
a
a
lot of great stuff in this movie to talk about. So,
Yeah, so this is there's many interesting things about High Noon. Something that it shares with Neighbors is that it is about people not getting along with each other.
sure.
There is a sheriff of a town who has kind of been a part of he like helped to really clean up the town. He was a fixture in the town, and he's getting married to a Quaker and moving away and giving up his position. And
Gasp. Quaker.
yeah, and right when he is leaving town, there's a 1 day gap in protection by sheriffs. And it turns out that some old bad guys who are so evil that he absolutely knows that they're going to come back and get revenge have been let out of prison, and they're coming back to get revenge
On the noon train.
on the noon train.
So he
And
has until noon that day to figure his shit out.
yes, this is a real-time movie, which is really interestingly high concept for
Yeah.
something like this. Yeah, and then the story is that he is the kind of force to protect the town is in shambles. The town is not equipped to defend themselves against these scoundrels, and they're going to turn the town back into a bad place. Nobody wants to go back to the way the town was, but nobody. But he, as he goes around town trying to find people to deputize, no one is brave enough to help stop him from allowing the town to fall back into ruin. No one appreciates all of the work that he did to they do in words but not in actions.
Right.
All of
Everyone
the work they
talks big like, "Hey, you save this town. I'm with you. Like whatever you need." And then he's like, "Hey, I need you to stand with me to fight these people who are going to come back to kill me." And they're like, I'm busy that day. Sorry."
yeah, yeah, exactly.
And it is quite like you feel the frustration of like he's going through all these people that are like so, verbally grateful to him and are saying how like yeah, how he's like he's the best and just but won't actually actively stand with him
You
when he
see,
asks them.
people say that this is about, the House Un-American Activities Committee and like
Mm,
standing up for people, and somebody, somebody's trying to do the right thing, or there's like a witch hunt or something like that, and no one and these people are being excommunicated, which did happen to the
mhm.
screenwriter. But what this movie is actually about is flaky friends you can't get to come to any event.
Right, it's like, "Hey, man, like, are you free at noon? I got a big thing going on." They're like,
Yeah, at noon.
I got church that day. Sorry. I'm busy." Oh, wait, and then there is the one guy who like, "Hey, I'm with you. Like, let's go rock and roll. Like, I'm ready." And then he finds out that no one else has shown up, and he's like, "If we're the only two, I'm not gonna fight with you. I'm not gonna hang out at this party if it's only us two."
Yeah. This movie, I don't really directly read it as communist themes, but like I feel like you can read it that way, especially
Mm,
given the kind of
sure,
context
absolutely.
um of like solidarity, and
Mhm.
specifically a lack of solidarity between between the good people, quote unquote, of this town, right? Like there is like a kind of aspect of this where like everybody is being so individualistic. They will like reap the rewards of other
Mm,
people's hard work, but not contribute. And I think along those lines, like, this movie, I think, stands out a lot around its peers, but it doesn't stand out that much among westerns because this feels like a spaghetti western, This is a
interesting.
this is
Hmm.
a really cynical movie. This is a really cynical movie, and it's not about good guys and bad guys so much. It's about like gray morals and people not being that good.
Right, it's almost like situational morals and, like, how people's morals will change depending on the situation they're in.
Yeah.
I mean, I do think it does have like, I do think Gary Cooper, who's the sheriff, is presented as a pretty stand-up guy. Like, I don't know if his character is really I'm not trying to think of, like, are there any points where he's really kind of actively portrayed as a sort of, like, morally gray person?
Yeah, I mean, I guess not. I think there are
'Cause
like
he's
there
like
are like good guys and bad guys, but like
right,
the movie does not have a simplistic view of the
right.
world, right?
Which
There is a
I
lot
think
of like
is
murkiness in this
right.
movie.
I think also like that's the thing is like westerns often sort of get things like, oh, all the good guys have like white hats, all the bad guys have black hats. I feel like maybe it's the fact that we've only really been watching like really good westerns on this show, but it's like
Hmm.
no, like westerns, even from like in very early ones, are like very willing to like have a lot of moral
Yeah,
ambiguity in
I
them.
guess there's like anti-heroes and like stagecoach and
Right.
that kind of thing.
Regardless
Yeah.
of sort of, the context of this movie when it was made and by whom is very important. But I do think it is like much like Neighbors, it is the themes of it are kind of universal enough and that they're just about like one guy is willing to do the hard thing that is also the right thing, and almost everyone else around him is like, no, it's too hard. Like, we're gonna take the easy way out. We're gonna leave town. We're gonna, you know, do whatever. Which is, I think, is you can apply to so many things of just sort
Yeah.
of like
And also,
when actually confronted with something like that, are you willing to, you know, do the hard thing, even if it's even if it
yeah, and
is
you
difficult.
can apply this to mundane situations, and you can also apply it to like really big situations in that like he is willing to risk his life in order to do the right thing, and nobody else is willing to do that.
Hmm.
Like, it's not just like, can you do the right thing? It's like, can you do something really scary to do the right thing?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think this movie does a pretty good job of sort of like presenting with all of these like kind of chess pieces and kind of just seeing where they land. What a cast! Also, the aforementioned um, Gary Cooper, but also Grace Kelly is the Quaker wife.
Hmm.
I mean, I would marry a Quaker too if she was Grace Kelly. Let's be honest. Lee Van Cleef, speaking of spaghetti westerns, is in this movie as
Yeah,
like one of the henchmen
Mr. Spaghetti himself.
of the big bad. Thomas Mitchell, who's just in every movie from the 30s and 40s, also in
Yeah.
this one. And Lloyd Bridges, babyface Lloyd Bridges as the sort of flaky deputy.
Huh. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I'm not good at faces, I guess.
We got Gary Cooper, who's like back in starred in silent movies, and we got Lee Van Cleef and Lloyd Bridges in Airplane. Like this movie spans
Mhm.
a wide. Its cast spans a very wide range of like movie history, which I think is
That's
kind of cool.
true. Yeah. Speaking of me not being able to recognize faces, I barely recognize Gary Cooper in this. Like, I feel like the last movie we
Mm,
saw Gary Cooper in is, I don't know if we watched any movies with him in the 40s. We might have just watched 30s movies with
maybe not.
him.
It's funny because
And
I'm pretty
like,
sure this is the first movie I ever saw Gary Cooper in, and so this kind of set the standard of like what Gary Cooper is as an actor for me, which is
mhm.
not, I think, a very universal like picture of who he is as an actor. Like I think this is very much him in sort of like elder statesman mode. This is him as like
Right.
an older kind of like steady hand actor.
I mean, that's the thing, honestly, is that like, we've watched this happen before, but with a couple of movies in this episode, we're watching people who we knew as young people earlier on in
Mm,
this podcast,
yeah.
now old people, you know?
Yeah. And this
And
movie is
like,
also this is like it very much acknowledges the fact that he is old. Like that
yeah,
is part of his character.
he went to a beach, it turned him old,
Exactly,
and then
exactly.
that reference will be remembered years for years to come.
By me, yes.
I mean, I think we should talk about the kind of gimmick of this movie, of
Mhm.
it being in real time,
It is
which,
a very literal ticking clock movie.
yeah, this movie, this slaps. This is awesome.
Yeah.
Like, I think that,
It is probably my favorite thing about the movie, which is a very nerdy filmmakery thing for to be my favorite part is like
yeah.
the structure.
But it works so well, and like, at first it's so good. Like, it starts and you're like, "Oh man, this big confrontation is going to happen in like an hour and a half," you know?
Mhm.
And then there are so many parts and so many scenes. Someone glances to the clock. It's getting worse. It's getting worse.
Mm.
It's getting worse. It's getting worse. It's getting worse. And then you're like, "Jesus Christ, there's 10 minutes until this guy gets here," you know? And it so naturally builds tension so gracefully. And so it's like, at the beginning you're just watching a movie, and then you're like getting more and more stressed out as you keep looking at this clock. And I was really feeling it by the end of the movie. I was on the edge of my seat when the
Yeah.
confrontation was happening. And it was really because of the formal aspect.
Yeah. Yeah. It builds tension really well. And when that final confrontation does happen, it does feel like the fireworks factory. It is like it ratchets the tension up so much, and then there is like a long extended gunfight through the town, and it's like this. It pays off that tension well, you know.
Yeah. It's not a one-to-one comparison, but this made me think of the movie Crank, the Jason Statham movie.
Sure,
Uh,
I can see why. Yeah.
uh, it's like it's like this kind of device that is like forcing uh
Mhm.
like high octane stuff to happen at all moments, you know.
Yeah.
You got to do everything you can to like make it to this big confrontation.
Yeah.
Uh yeah, feels very crank.
Also, even just like the concept of like a showdown at high noon is like such a like Western staple, you know?
Yeah.
And so I think this movie does for being built entirely around that concept. Um, yeah, it does a good job.
Yeah, I mean, you know what it kind of reminds me of is The Day of the Fight, which we just watched, the Stanley Kubrick movie,
Hey,
you know?
yeah,
Like it is this movie is
almost the
just like
same movie. Yeah,
the like building anticipation to the big moment that you're kind of dreading, you know?
yeah, yeah,
Big moment of violence.
yeah. Another like great, like very small but like cool, like formal thing in this is like there's a bit where like the way that they build up the villain, whose name is Frank Miller, which made me chuckle,
Mhm.
um, because of the comic book artist. Is like you don't actually see him until he shows up on the train, but everyone is like talking about him the whole movie.
Yeah.
Like this guy
Oh,
is
oh, oh.
bad news. Like, oh shit. Like you do not he's like just the worst person. Like he is
He's
so
he's
scary.
gonna he's gonna
Yeah.
get like completely changed by 9/11 and write a really
Right.
racist
Yeah. It's
book.
like,
And, like,
the early Daredevil Batman stuff, real good, but then like something happened. We don't know what went down. A real thought I had while watching the movie. And there's a bit where I forget who it is. If it's like the town, one of the people in the town is like, remember when you like sentenced him to jail? He sat in that chair, and they like do this
yeah, yeah,
crazy
yeah,
like
yeah.
dolly move in on it, just an empty chair, and you're like, ooh, like I feel just this ominous empty chair
And
is
then they bring it
is
back.
scary.
And
Yeah,
then when he's coming back and everybody's like the clock is ticking and it starts cutting really fast, it cuts back to that chair and you're like it's like the specter of him is
yeah,
getting closer and arriving. It's so good.
real good, real good. Oh yeah, another sort of interesting, I guess, like filmmaking flourish, like the opening credits. There's like a song playing over the opening credits, but no like diegetic sound, which feels very modern to me. Like it
Hmm.
doesn't, I don't know, for whatever reason, just like having like scenes of like, the posse riding up on horses, but there only being music playing under it and no sound throughout the whole thing because it's like a very quiet song too. I don't know, that didn't feel like typical 50s filmmaking to me.
They've got an original song for this movie that's about the story.
Yeah.
It's called "The Day Robert Palin Shot Me Down." Uh,
Well, yeah, we haven't even mentioned the skeletons coming to life. I mean, that's a whole nother thing.
we keep hearing like kind of little motifs. I mean, like this, like
Mhm.
of the kind of title track that are sort of like done in the background music.
There's a bit of a leitmotif from that song throughout the movie.
It's a bit of a heavy motif, I would say. You know, the song is about the story and of the film, as about like the having to confront this guy and nobody is supporting you, and so it does kind of come in. They basically sing you the story of the movie before the
Mhm.
parts,
Yeah,
and so it kind of uh in appropriate moments kind of
yeah.
returns.
I like when a movie has a song that is
Yeah,
also the story of the movie.
here come the men in black.
Exactly.
Yeah, more
Bring
movies
that
should
back.
have
More
that. Yeah.
movies need to have a song at the end credits that just tells you what happened.
Thanks. We let's enlist Demi Adijuibe to make more Will Smith in credit songs.
I don't know if he needs any help. He's already doing a lot of those.
He's got to make more.
I agree. I agree.
You know, I had like a thought that was like very like, "Ooh," but like, um,
What was it?
this like it was like,
What's
"Ooh."
what sound did you make?
Uh, Anyway, what I was saying was that while I was watching this, I was thinking like about the device, about the gimmick, and how it
Mm.
feels so essential to what cinema is, right? Like
Mm.
cinema is time, and you
Mhm.
can't tell. I mean, this story is based on a book, but like I was, or like a short story, but like I was thinking about like all of this like cutting back to the clock and how like time is so tangible in this movie,
Mm. Yeah.
and it's like you can't do that in other mediums, you know? There is something that is essentially film about this movie.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, I'm curious. Like, if you tried to do this on stage, how would it play? Like, you could still take place in real time, but yeah, I feel like it wouldn't necessarily have that same. I mean, yeah,
You gotta
the
have,
use
like, a
of the
big
use of
24 clock above the
right,
stage.
yeah. I'm actually curious now how that would if you tried to do high noon on stage, if that's ever been attempted. But yeah, certainly like in like as a novel, you would not feel it in the same way, and that like
Yeah.
you're experiencing the story at the same rate as the characters. I'm sure Chris Nolan loves this movie. The guy loves time.
I just love and appreciate time. Oh, and I one other little note about this
Mm,
movie is that there are and this feels like a classic like cowboy or samurai sort of situation
mm.
is like there's a big showdown happening. The coffin maker
Oh,
is gonna be making gangbusters like
right.
in
The
this
the classic thing
situation.
of you walk into a store and the right, he's going around town trying to get people to help, and the coffin maker's making a coffin, being like, you never know." Like, yeah, it's like, "Hey, coffin maker, can you like wait a little bit before you make my coffin, sir? Like, I can see you."
Yeah, yeah. Like I like and it's this like more ominousness. Like this whole movie is just building ominousness.
Yeah.
And there is yeah, like the part where he is not even like seeing his coffin being made, he's getting shaved at the barber and like he is hearing his coffin being made, like the
Mm.
nails going
Yeah.
into the wood in the background, and he has like a blade up to his neck around the same time,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Like there's all of this stuff. All this stuff is just so loaded with ominousness.
Yeah. Loaded with ominousness is a great way to describe this movie.
But yeah, High Noon was super good. I liked it. In this, you know, movie, we saw an aging Gary Cooper, which was I was given it was giving me kind of feelings in a way.
Mm.
Look at how our boy has grown up. And there's another film that is really directly confronting, talking about like elder statesman sort of situation, really
Right.
directly confronting the aging of Hollywood stars, which we've been seeing a lot of stuff about. But this one is Limelight, made by Charlie Chaplin.
Well, Charles Chaplin, he's in drama mode in this one.
This movie is still like, yeah, it's still doing the Charles Chaplin situation of a laugh and maybe a tear, you know?
Yeah, very much.
He's definitely not a lot of people go like so sappy and so silly at the same time
Right.
as Charlie Chaplin.
Well, because I think this one especially feels. I think this one is probably more leaning towards the like being like a serious dramatic film than like City
Yeah.
Lights or The Kid or one of those.
This movie
But
opens on a suicide.
right, but not as much as like A Woman of Paris, right? That's what it's called.
Yeah.
Which that almost felt like he had to like prove either to himself or to others, like I could do drama. Whereas this is like this lets a lot more of the silliness back in, because it is about a clown. So
But it's about a sad clown.
of course.
She's beautiful, but she's dying. I um I gotta can it with these references. Um
I'm not
so
complaining.
this is I mean this movie is so kind of metatextual.
Very, very much. Yeah.
It is so
Well,
like
because
a like him reflecting on his own career, and it very
yeah,
much feels like I am like taking my own like I'm taking stock of my own life, my Charlie Chaplin's life, and I am kind of putting a button on it. I'm making my last statement, and I'm like making room for the next generation, but I have feelings about it, and we're going to explore those feelings, you know?
yeah, yeah. Right, because it's about Charlie Chaplin is playing an aging clown who is does not have the career that he once had, which
Hey,
is a very clear sort of parallel with his own life. But then it is also set. The time period in which it's set is like when he grew up.
it's set like when he started acting.
Right. So it's sort of also He's like
It's
looking
like
back and looking forward almost kind of
yeah,
simultaneously.
yeah. It's doing a lot for sure. And like
Yeah.
yeah, it's almost like he is imagining himself as the person who is passing the torch to himself.
Mm,
Uh
mm.
and he's also imagining himself passing the torch to his young wife. Quick synopsis. Sad clown. He's drunk. He gets drunk. His life is not the way that it used to be. And he knows that his time is kind of over. He lives in the same apartment as a young dancer who is passionate about her craft, but was it? She has issues with her legs.
Yeah, but they're like psychosomatic.
Yes, she has issues with her legs that are stopping her from being able to dance, and she's so dedicated to her craft. The film opens with him drunkenly arriving home, smelling gas, looking through the keyhole, and seeing that she is attempting suicide. This person who is in the same apartment building as him, but he doesn't know. He bursts the door open and rescues her, and then she kind of becomes attached to him as he brings her back to health, and he kind of gives her some words of advice as an elder artist to a younger artist. He's like, hey, don't kill yourself, you got your whole life ahead of you, you can fix any of this situation, me, I'm over. And they kind of become emotionally entwined, and then they become sort of romantically entwined, but he sort of resists it a little bit because she's so much younger than him. And they talk about how
Real rich, Charlie.
yeah, they talk
Coming
about
from you.
I know. I mean, it does feel like he is sort of commenting on his own
It
situation
it
a little
does
bit.
feel kind of self-reflective in that way, which I did think was very interesting.
Yeah, because in the movie he's saying you are too young for me, and she is older than his wife is.
Right.
So there's definitely that, you know, this kind of like calling attention to, maybe who knows, maybe he had some kind of anxiety about this aspect of himself. Um and there's a way that he's like defending himself. There's a way that he's like writing a narrative in which he's like, it's okay that I
Right.
did
I mean,
this.
that yeah, it's sort of like on one hand it feels like it might be self-reflective, on the other hand it might feel almost like he's kind of trying to kind of
Whoa,
create a
she came
situation.
on to me.
Right, yeah, and it's like, "No, no, I'm too old for you." Oh, and it's like, Come on, Charlie." So, yeah, I don't know. That aspect to it is weird and kind of uncomfortable because of who Charlie Chaplin is. I mean, the movie I thought of while watching this a lot of the time is Star is Born. A very similar
Yes.
kind of
Yes.
plot. I guess yeah, just plot in terms of like is about an aging male performer and a younger female performer, and they're sort of like
A
crossing
star
paths
fades
as
as the
right.
star grows.
Even
Yeah.
the idea that right, like the Chaplin's character is an alcoholic. Like that's another sort of big thing in Star is
Yeah.
Born. For all of his many personal problems, Charlie Chaplin, very good director. And I think I this movie does, I think, a good job of like that the meta thing of like using his very well known like persona as a way to kind of like I don't know, give this movie this character like a lot of added depth. Without
Yeah.
using it as a crutch. It's like the movie I think would work if you didn't know who Charlie Chaplin was. But
Yeah, I think that a movie that is being this self-referential on a meta level, I feel like if it came out today, I would probably be rolling my eyes at it. It's like, oh, it's another parallel with Charlie Chaplin's life. Whoa, but
Mm,
like it pulls it off. I think, it's, and maybe I just have a soft spot. I'm not sure, but like, this movie, it definitely feels, I mean, like Modern Times did. It feels like a referendum on who he is, and it's
mm.
just wrapping everything up. The thing that would have bothered me in a newer movie, and for some reason didn't, is there's a point where he goes like, it must be the tramp in me. It's like, okay.
Ah. We get it.
I always do a very bad job at keeping my synopses concise, but this movie ends with there's like a bit of back and forth about like whether he is able to succeed still, like like nobody wants to book him, but like finally he gets the recognition that he deserves. He finally like everyone's like, "Oh wow, like why did we forget about this guy? He's so great." And then he has a heart attack on stage, and the show must go on. Nobody knows, but then right as he is watching the young star rise, he dies.
Mm.
Spoilers. And so like it does have this kind of like I got my last moment, but a bit of the kind of uh knife in your gut
Sure.
sentimentality
I
as
mean,
well.
it's really leaning into the bittersweetness that we know that old Chuck loves to put into his movies. I think this is maybe the most like very very directly like leaning on bittersweet like almost the whole time.
Yeah.
You feel I definitely don't like it as much as a lot of his earlier stuff, but I think
Too
as
much
a sort of
talking.
like exactly right. Although I think like there's a lot of writing in this that I like. There were some really good some good lines and bits. There was a line I wrote down. I hate the sight of blood, but it's in my veins, which I'm like,
Yeah, yeah,
is
yeah.
sure,
There are some Charlie Chaplin isms in this, like people getting kicked in the butt, which
sure,
is
always, yeah,
including more of his butt-based humor. There's somebody says that shows you're asinine, and then she said, and then he goes, "I should have worn my overcoat." And it's like that's a bit raunchy as far as 50s standards, but also like that is a dialogue joke. That's
right,
not
yeah.
that's not a silent film
He's
joke.
trying some new things. I guess also the other big aspect of this movie that we haven't mentioned is that it features it's a crossover episode with Buster Keaton. We get an
Yeah.
extended Chaplin Keaton double act,
Oh, it was so good. I
which
really
is
liked that
it is
part.
definitely the best part of the movie. Is like them two doing bits for like an extended scene is like you definitely feel that the movie is almost like stopping just for them to like do a show. But
Yeah.
I'm also like, yeah, this is like what I'm here for. So I want this to last as long as possible.
Yes, and it was great. It was like it's another thing that it's like it is the outside awareness of what you're bringing to the movie that really like loads that scene up with more meaning than it has
Hmm.
within the film. But like, yeah, getting these two like titans of silent slapstick comedy together for the only time,
Hmm. Yeah.
and they are just getting to be silly and do slapstick together as like a kind of final send off of that era is it's so good. I loved it.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I appreciated a lot of like the optimism of this movie, I think.
Optimism?
I feel like this movie has a general, even though it's like very bittersweet, I got a real sense of kind of optimism from it.
Hmm. It's got essentially like the things that you're looking for will come to you, you know.
Mm.
You just need to not kill yourself in order for that to happen.
Yeah. And I think it's also I do think this movie is sort of partially about kind of like aging gracefully and kind of like yeah, like
Yes.
kind of seeding the floor to like the next generation. And like knowing when it's time to kind of step back and be like, all right, I'm like I've had my time in the limelight, brr. And right, so it's like it's about the character, and it is also yeah, Chaplin like acknowledging that like I'm good. Like I think I've made my movies, I've done my stuff.
Yeah. One other thing about this film, this probably is drawn from experience, is that even after no one wants to book him, he's not a performing clown anymore. It keeps jumping to his dreams. Like every time he falls asleep, it
Mm.
shows his dreams in the movie, and he's dreaming of like new acts and routines to do. Like he has the drive to perform.
Right, I think that is one of the kind of sad things about the movie is like you see like he's still in it. Like he's still doing bits, he's still coming up with new stuff, but it's just like his audience isn't there the way it used to be. Like
Yeah.
his style of performance isn't what's popular.
his bit that he comes up with is a flea circus, some flea circus antics, and I've got to say, it was not until quite recently that I realized what the joke of a flea circus is.
Hmm.
Like, I really thought for much of my life that some people trained fleas, and that it wasn't the joke that there is nothing there,
Clown
and
fleas and high wire fleas and fleas on parade.
I guess I just never thought like, oh, like the joke is that you can't see them, but there's actually fleas there, you
Yeah.
know? Like it never connected for me.
That's why John Hammond wanted to make something that his grandkids could see and touch, like
Oh,
velociraptors.
now I see what you're doing. Okay.
Anytime someone says flea circus, that's immediately what I think of. So another film about the harsh realities of the aging process is Akira Kurosawa's film Ikiru.
Yes.
One of his most famous and well liked. Pretty good movie. Hot take. Spoilers for Ikiru, which is Japanese for to live.
Mhm. Which is Japanese for to live and die in Los Angeles.
Yeah, a sort of a different genre from definitely what Akira Kurosawa was known for and what we've
Mhm.
watched for the show already. This is like a pretty straightforward, like contemporary drama about life and also how annoying bureaucracy is.
Yeah. Yeah, this movie is Kafkaesque, yo.
Oh, sure.
This yeah, you want to
Sure. I
give
mean,
give me
this
give
is
me
about
the
an older gentleman played by Kenji Watanabe.
he's my
Just
he's my eternal Japanese grandpa,
honestly,
you know.
one of
Like
like one of the best to ever act. Like that guy kills it every single time. It's like the head of the what is it like the human resources department.
it's like a yeah, it's
He's in city government in the like at like the help desk, and he finds out that he has stomach cancer and doesn't have long to live. Immediately kind of crashes and burns and doesn't take the news well and reflects on his life and what he has or hasn't accomplished as a person, but then decides that he's going to as sort of like his final mission in life, he is going to get this empty lot turned into a park, which he does, and then dies of cancer without telling people that he was sick, which happens, I don't know, like 2/3 of the way through the movie, and
yeah,
then the
that
rest of the movie
was
is all the people in his life that we've met over the course of the movie, sort of like reflecting on him as a person and how they knew him and sort of their takeaways of who he was and like why he did what he did.
yeah, this is similar to in certain ways to both of the movies that we just talked about because it is optimistic and rather cynical at the same time.
Sure, right.
Uh
It's yeah, I don't know. I didn't really get a lot of like cynicism from this, but it's not it
I
doesn't
think that
paint like a rosy picture of a lot of institutions, I guess.
I mean the cynicism is that, you know,
Well, actually, yeah, you're
we
right.
find
There is a real sense of cynicism in the ending. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, the ending being that like everybody is just like, "Oh wow, it's so beautiful," that he like really decided to care and like really tried to make an impact, like
Right.
didn't just
He
let
cut through all this red tape to get this thing done because he knew it would benefit the people around him, even though he wouldn't live to see it.
yeah.
And so
And like
everyone in his
how
office,
beautiful we should all live
yeah,
like
we should
that.
all live like that. Everyone in his office, like tomorrow morning, like we're all gonna go into the office. We're gonna actually do our jobs. We're not just gonna sit around and pretend we're working like we normally do. And
And
then
we're gonna find meaning in what we're gonna do, and we're gonna do good. And then it's just like, yeah,
yeah,
I'm
and they all
busy,
walk
you
into the
know.
office and they're all like, "Yeah, I'm still just gonna kind of coast today, I think."
Right.
Um, yeah,
That there is like a like there's one person who is inspired, and maybe that's all you need,
right,
right?
right, yeah,
You need one other person to be inspired, and you need to uh make a playground as a metaphor for doing good in your life, you know.
hmm
And yeah, it definitely plays with a lot of yeah, those kind of heavy
it's a pretty heavy movie.
feelings.
Yeah,
Yeah. but of just like how do you make meaning, I
Mhm.
guess, especially in the face of death.
Yeah. And also, like, I, for whatever reason, another thing that sort of seemed oddly modern about this movie is just the fact it's about cancer.
Yeah,
It wasn't a thing that I, again, like, I'm sure there are probably movies that use that as a plot device, or, you know, incorporate that into the story somehow, that were made before this. But it still doesn't connect with what I think a lot of the other movies from this time period that I've seen or know about are about. I don't know, for whatever reason, even, like, you know, cancer existed in the 50s, but there weren't as many stories being told about that as a disease or as like a life experience, I guess. Maybe
and
it's
it's a
just like
very like down to earth kind of look at it.
right,
It's not
yeah.
melodramatic per se.
Yeah.
It's just like I'm dying. Like what do I do about that? And
Yeah.
like here are my symptoms, you know.
Mhm.
It talks a lot about like the difficulty he has even just going through life while he has
Right.
stomach
Also,
cancer.
like, before he had cancer, he already was like not the happiest guy. You know, he was not living his best life before that either. And then, like, when he finds out that he is dying, he doesn't have like an immediate epiphany. It like takes a while, and like he has a real sort of like, he goes on a bender and like hits the town, and I don't know, like he has a real kind of like a descent before he kind of has the more, I guess, kind of traditionally like hero moment of like, no, I'm gonna like make this park. I'm gonna help people. I'm gonna like use the time I have left to make positive change.
Yeah, I mean, this is I mean, you say the word coasting, right? Like this is somebody who was completely not just coasting in his job, but he was coasting through his entire life. Like he
Yeah.
never made any impact, and when he is just, you know, confronted so directly with something that is so existentially challenging, like maybe he immediately just has like a different perspective on life, and realizing that he never lived his life at first, he like tries like maybe a more shallow way of living your life, right?
Right. He's like, I'm gonna
um
drink. I'm gonna hit the town. I'm gonna go dancing. I'm gonna like try to like hook up with a prostitute.
yeah, and then like yeah, there's somebody who kind of like confronts him on his bullshit, you know. It's like, what are you
Yeah.
doing, you know? And he ends up, you know, acting in these like really weird ways because he's dying, and like you can see that he is unable to fully grapple with his feelings, and this coworker, he just starts hanging out with her all the time,
Hmm.
and like he's almost trying to like leech her youth, you know. Like
Yeah. Well, I don't know if leeching. I mean, it sort of starts to turn into that, but it is like, right. She's like she kind of represents everything that he feels he's missing, like youth, energy, like exuberance, fun, like optimism, hope.
ability to quit your job.
That too. But yeah, like it gets to a point where she's like, you like we can't hang out. Oh, like we gotta hang, like it's too much. Like you can't live your life vicariously through me. Which is like, I find that scene very heartbreaking because it is like she 100% has a very good point and is like correct in that moment. And yet I feel so bad for the guy of just like
Yeah.
it.
She is life, and he is clinging to life because
Yeah.
he knows he's about to lose it. There's so many like great little moments in this, similar to High Noon. Like there's a part where like he's winding a clock, and then he like
Mm,
cries from winding the
right.
clock,
Yeah.
thinking about like preparing for tomorrow that might not come, you know,
Yeah.
or just
But
like
also like
a clock.
this being a Kurosawa movie, it is also like very watchable. You know, it's like
Yeah.
it really, even though it is like about these pretty like heavy themes and such, it never feels like a slog to watch. I
Hmm.
didn't think.
There's, like, a lot of, like, just little poetic things in it,
Mm,
like the clock.
mhm.
There's I forget if it's the narrator or one of the characters who they go to a pachinko parlor, and they call it a vending machine for dreams and aspirations. I'm like, "That's incredible. That's incredible."
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's a bit where when he's drinking excessively. He says he's drinking poison to get back at himself. I'm like, oh, that's a good line.
Yeah, there's like, I mean, there is a narrator in this movie who pops up every once in a while. It opens, I think that this movie opens in a very striking way, which is a photo of his X-ray, and then a narrator
Mm-hmm.
telling you like, this is our hero and this is the cancer in
Yeah,
him.
yeah.
He's gonna die, you know.
Right. It's like the
uh,
movie's very upfront. Like that's what the story is. Like he's not getting out of this.
and yeah, there are points where the narrator is sort of just like musing about life and death,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
like while like sort of echoing some of the thoughts that that the main character is having.
I think this movie has so much like great moments of like mundanity too. Either showing the sort of like kind of mind numbing mundanity of like of life or like working in an office and that kind of thing, but also just these like little kind of moments of joy or of just like a funny thing happening
Mhm.
that I really
and
appreciated.
and like very well observed like real
Hmm.
life things,
Yeah.
real life moments. Oh man, I just keep thinking of like little moments like right after he gets his diagnosis, he's kind of like dazed, a la Walter White staring at mustard on somebody's shirt. He is dazed walking out of the hospital, and then he like almost walks into traffic, right?
Hmm.
Like so many ways that he's just like almost dying. He's already dead. And like what difference would it make if he just died right there, you know? Or but like he's about to die and he just comes right out, but he's going to die anyway. There's like so many ways of taking
Hmm.
that like one little moment. And yeah, this movie's just about it's about big stuff. And it's
Yeah.
able to just approach it from so many
But
different
it's like
angles.
it's about big stuff, but it's like we're seeing it through such like small stuff, such small like everyday mundane stuff.
Yeah, it reminds me of It's Such a Beautiful Day, the Don Hertzfeldt movie.
Oh,
Um,
interesting.
which it's another movie about somebody with a terminal illness. Um, and it's a movie that kind of posits that uh the stuff of life is these small mundane
Hmm.
moments. It is
Right.
like, well, I mean, this movie does say like, oh, that you give meaning to your life by like making a good impact on the world, but it also focuses a lot on these little moments. And I mean, something I think about from that movie, It's Such a Beautiful Day, is that like in death, the character is thinking about the texture on paper towels, you know,
Hmm.
like this very very small like sensorial things of
Right.
being alive. uh
Right. Yeah.
and this captures a lot of that.
But that's also like that's the stuff that I feel like when it gets taken away, you miss. You know, it's like these like very things you don't even think about that are like end up feeling so kind of important. Also, I mean I was very surprised having not seen this movie before that like how early in the movie he dies. Like there's like a
Yeah,
hard cut and it's like he died. The narrator is just like, yeah, that's done. Like it happens off screen. Like it's not there isn't like a big scene of him, you know, like having a big moment of death. It's just sort of like it happens between two scenes and it's like, oh now we're at his funeral.
yeah,
Um
it's shocking, it's
yeah.
very shocking. And like that's, I guess, what real death is like, you know, it's
Sure.
like
Yeah.
it just happens, or at
And
least it can.
someone says don't be so sentimental while at his funeral, which I think is a very funny thing to say.
They're
Too.
like talking shit at his wake. It's kind
They
of
are, yeah. There's also a bit where he says, "I can't afford to hate people. I don't have the time." And I was like, "Oh, that's saying some stuff."
Yeah, and it's like, you know, it's saying stuff that's like applicable to our own lives,
I
but
mean,
also
that's
like
him
he
after
literally does
he's
not have the time.
right, but it's like
He's like, I have a mission now, and it's
right,
not worth it to sit there being mad about stuff because I only have so much time to build this park and feel like I did something meaningful with my life
yeah.
instead of just sleepwalk through it.
'Cause the movie opens with because it's kind of montage of the like mind numbing awfulness of like bureaucratic office stuff of this group of people come into the office to complain about this cesspool in the middle of the street that is like causing all these problems and they keep getting sent to different offices of different departments who are all saying, oh no, like that's because it's on a street, you have to go to like the roads and streets department. They're like, oh well, because it's water, that's sewage, that's their problem. And that's it. They get sent to that office and
Yeah.
they get sent to all these different offices and they end up right back to where they started.
They end up doing a bureaucratic loop. Yeah.
Right. Which is like a thing that I have like genuinely experienced in life so many times of just like no one actually wants to do the work, so they all like put it off onto someone else or send you to a different department. That's the thing that gets him to kind of break out of it, is that he's like, I'm gonna actually do the work for once.
Yeah.
And
Like
instead of
like
just
High Noon,
yeah.
it's a movie about like, a guy who's just like, everyone doesn't want to do this thing, but I'm gonna
Yeah.
do it.
Hmm. Yeah, true. Yeah, and it's also funny. I don't know how much directly the first season of Parks and Recreation is based on this movie, because it is also about turning a pit into a park and the various like departmental problems that leads to.
Hmm.
It wouldn't surprise me if that was like that is this movie is where that came from.
And then there's the story about a pit turning into a pendulum. I think that's what that one's about.
I think that predates this one too. Um,
Yeah, a lot of like I feel like there's a lot about this movie that's just straightforward. It's just
sure,
exploring
yeah.
these themes, and like you can find little
But it is
moments.
like it's got a lot going on. It's not just
Yeah.
about one thing. It is about aging and death and accepting death and like your place in the world, and also like how people are going to remember you, and like it is about like finding meaning in life, and right. I think ultimately it is right. It's about how to live well, which
Yeah.
is something that I think everyone can relate to and learn from.
Yeah. Man, I wonder, I mean, this is kind of combines thoughts that I had with Duck and Cover and this movie,
Hmm.
which is that, and I forgot to mention with Duck and Cover I was going to, but like in 2018 I had a brush with death that made me see life a different way, right? And so like it was a brush of death, a brush with death specifically relating to ballistic missiles. and
Right.
uh
Yeah. Yeah.
and so like I was thinking about like Duck and Cover, and thinking about like being confronted with like what happens if you know that an atomic weapon could drop and you could die. And so, long story short, I don't know if this is interesting, but like this definitely like brings this
Hmm.
kind of stuff up, I guess. It's not super movie related, but whatever. I was in Hawaii with my family, and they had accidentally sent out a message to everybody's cell phones on the island: incoming ballistic missile, seek shelter.
What a thing to accidentally send out en masse to
Yeah,
people.
yeah. Every single person on the island got this as a text. And we were we were about to fly from one island to another. We were flying to Kauai, and we were on a plane, and we were like just getting seated, and everybody's phones went off. It was like an Amber Alert type situation. Everybody's phones went off, and then a bunch of alarms went off on the plane too. It seemed like maybe they were
Whoa.
connected somehow. At first, nobody knew what to do. We all left the plane and went back inside and into the airport. Where like the internet was not working, like the cell phones were not working. Everybody was trying to use their phones at the same time, and we were at the airport pretty close to Pearl Harbor, right? Um, the information that we were getting was like, okay, maybe you have somewhere between 15 and 40 minutes. Like we were like assuming that this was coming from North Korea. So we're like, these are our last moments to be alive. Like that, this might
Ugh.
be it. But I was struck with how calm I felt
Hmm.
when I knew that I was going to die, when I thought I was going to die any second. It might just, I would blink and then I would be gone, you know?
Hmm.
I'd always thought until that point that I'd be filled with regret,
Right.
or that I would be scared, but my family was right there. Like,
Mm.
like,
Yeah. Yeah.
who did I have to say goodbye to exactly? Like like the people who I needed to say goodbye to. No offense, Glenn, but like
No,
I would like to say goodbye
yeah.
to you too. But uh, the people that I would need to say goodbye to were right there, and so I was just like, oh, I guess I'm gonna die now, like I was
Mhm.
at peace in a way. But like one of the bizarre things about it was, because we were right next to Pearl Harbor, there was like a big window in the airport,
Mm.
and my dad was like, "We are going to be close enough to where the explosion is that we are probably going to die instantly. But if we don't die instantly, then we don't want to die. We don't want to die horribly. We want to die instantly." And so my dad encouraged us to stand next to the window,
Mm.
so that we could just be vaporized instead of die horribly.
Yeah.
It turned out to not be true. They sent a retraction about 40 minutes later. And and
That's the sort of thing of like they gotta like send people a check or something. Like do something after that. That is like such what a horrifying thing what a horrifying mistake to make.
yeah, definitely. And I think at the time the most notable thing about it to me was that I was like, oh, or the most notable thing about it to me was that I didn't feel so perturbed by it.
Mm.
I didn't
Right.
have fear. I didn't have regret. I was just like, I guess we're moving on with our day now. We're
I
on
mean,
vacation,
I guess I don't know. I don't know if you agree. May do you feel like on some level you're sort of like you're grateful to have been able to have that experience and then not die?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it shaped a lot of my life, in some way afterwards, in some ways, in some bad ways, but mostly in good ways, I
Mm.
think.
Yeah.
At first I felt very comforted by the fact that I knew that I felt at peace with
Mhm.
dying, which I very much did not when I was little. When I was a kid, I used to be up at night afraid of death.
Mm.
The kind of reality of it did not sink in until about half a year later. There was like a moment
Mm.
about half a year later where, I had just moved on, and then there was a moment where somehow it all just kind of came crashing in, and I was just like being confronted with like existential horror,
Mm.
like very unexpectedly, like half a year later. And that was when I actually started making changes in my life relating to that experience.
Yeah.
And one of the first things, one of the big changes was that I kind of became very interested in living my life as much as possible, because you could die any second for some
Yeah.
reason. Um, and part of that involved going out to parties more, like doing
Yeah.
what he did, in the movie.
Mhm.
Part of it ended up like embracing a sort of hedonistic aspect, but there's more to it than that. I think it's also just like having an awareness of death. It just brings so much perspective into um the demand for immediacy in
Mm.
in your life, in a way. And maybe this is just my own perspective. Meaning is something that, finding meaning in your life is something that is almost a distraction from living your life.
Mm.
um
Hmm. I
and
mean, I mean, I do think that the impermanence of life is sort of part of what gives it meaning, right? Like if people lived forever, the things we did wouldn't feel as impactful. They wouldn't feel like they meant as much, I suppose.
yeah,
Not to get
but
too existential, but
yeah, well, no, I mean, it calls for it. I think definitely an impending awareness of my own death made me feel like my life had more meaning.
Mm.
Like it gave it some kind of sense of meaning. Meaning
Yeah.
is a kind of tricky word, but
Sure. Yeah.
that this is all to say a very long story to say that like, there was a lot of what he went through in this film that I kind of personally recognized,
Right.
um,
Yeah.
that had happened in some form in me. Not all of it, and not all of it the same way, but being confronted with death can cause you to re-examine your life. And I think, at least in my case, and I think in his case, maybe live a better life.
Mm.
So there were points where I was like, in some ways, I hope that everyone can have that experience that I had, you know?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I have a question about that actually, which is
Mhm.
after they sent the retraction out, after the whatever 45 minutes of living in that moment, what was the rest what did the rest of the day look like? Like were you just like, all right, go back to the hotel, I guess.
I'll tell you what the rest of the day looked like. Me, my mom, dad, and sister were all like, "Okay, moving on," you know?
Yeah.
And
You weren't
and
like, all
my
right, we're gonna like go eat like the most lavish meal we've ever eaten, then like let's go swim in the ocean at moonlight or something like
no.
you weren't like filled with like, oh, we need to do the best thing now that we've like
Not immediately, no.
okay.
I mean, like, but like the thing that happened on that day was that my brother was very shaken up by the whole thing and
Mhm.
continued to be shaken up for the rest of the day. And we were like, "Come on, get over it." So yeah, we got back on the plane and then we just had the day that we were going to have otherwise, but we were
Yeah.
just observing all of the strange like cuz this
Right.
happened to
Right, cuz
everybody, you
right,
know?
it's everyone around you is
Yeah,
sharing in that.
everyone
Yeah.
like, basically everyone around us, unless they weren't awake, like, had this same experience,
Yeah.
and so, like, we went to a grocery store, and, like, people, like, had this, like, eerie, strange vibe about them in the grocery store. There were people
Mm.
talking about the experience. Somebody made a parody song, like, they did "Staying Alive," but about this thing,
Mm.
and it came out while we were still in Hawaii, like somebody had done like a really fast turnaround of a
Yeah.
song and we heard it playing in a store while we were
Whoa,
there.
wow. Damn.
We were like, "Oh my god, is this about the missile thing that just happened like 4 days
Jesus.
ago?"
Yeah.
But yeah, like that so the first thing that I took away from it was, "Oh, I'm not scared of death. That's cool." Like
Mm.
that's a
Mhm.
way that I'm
Yeah.
building myself, you know? That is something that I'm getting out of this. And I thought that was like the thing to get out of it was like I don't have to be scared of death anymore. But then once the kind of existential weight of it kind of came crashing onto me later, like I think I got some new and different lessons from it also.
Mhm.
But yeah, no, we just went on
Yeah.
with our life. We
What
just
what a story.
continued being on vacation.
Yeah. I don't know how to transition from that to any of the other movies, but I'm gonna try.
Yeah, we could also cut that whole thing out. I don't know.
I think we should keep at least some of it in because it is if you're okay with it, it's a crazy
Yeah,
story, and I think
sure.
it does definitely relate to the film and to how you watched it. So, Ikiru, very good movie. A movie that is not good or smart is The Greatest Show on Earth.
The Greatest Showman.
Not The Greatest Showman. Not in fact a musical. Probably would have been more fun if it was a musical.
Yeah,
But the another Oscar winner. This won Best Picture for the year 1952 at the Academy Awards.
this is considered one of the worst Best Picture winners.
Right, which I guess I didn't really know going into it. I knew that it was not a super well liked movie, I guess. And now I know why. It's because it's not very good.
I don't know. All the people saying that this is the worst Best Picture winner have not seen the Broadway Melody, and
I
it
agree. I
shows.
agree. For sure. I think Broadway Melody is much worse than this. I think this at least has some stuff going on for it. I found this to be a very strange film.
Yeah,
In that it
it's
is
structurally weird.
structurally is
Certainly.
bananas. It is also a movie about the sort of like the spectacle and the like quote unquote importance of the circus as like live entertainment and as like a thing that people experience. And it is not a circus; it's a movie. It's like filmed circus acts about how like important it is that like the circus is a live thing, which is just a very. It is much like we were saying how like the medium of film in Neighbours or High Noon is used in such a way to like heighten the story it's telling, and it's like telling a story in a way that only film really can.
Hmm.
This almost feels like it's the opposite, where it's like the fact that it's a movie is almost counter to like the things that the movie's trying to say.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I don't think that's like the only thing that the movie is saying is about it being live specifically. But
I mean, this movie is very much circus propaganda.
yeah, there's a lot of strange things this movie's doing. One of them one of them is the fact that it's basically like a 2.5 hour long commercial for the circus,
Yeah.
um,
And
and a
also not
specific
for like
circus.
right, it is for a specific circus, but it does feel like the movie is like a big ad just for like the circus, like in general, like the concept of the circus.
Okay, but so here's the thing about this movie that I think is kind of strange. It is about the Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus
Mhm.
specifically. And we've seen a number of circus movies. We've seen Nightmare Alley, we've seen
Mhm.
Freaks, we've seen Charlie Chaplin's The Circus. All of these movies, circus movies, as I've kind of come to know
Mhm.
them, are about marginal people, you know?
Mhm.
They are
Yeah.
about like scrappy bohemians who like this is what they do. They
Right.
live on the edge of
They
society.
live on the rails. They have no fixed home.
Yeah. And
They
this
they
movie,
wouldn't maybe be necessarily be accepted other places besides the circus.
yeah, this is a movie that like Ikiru has a rather like idiosyncratically placed narrator in it.
Hmm.
But unlike Ikiru, it is like the narrator is for propaganda purposes of big circus. And that's
Mhm.
the thing. It's like I think that the difference with this is that it is not about the circus. It's about big circus, like big
Mhm.
pharma, you know.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
and so much of the narration is about like look at these giant tents that we build these giant monuments to the circus every night. We like look at the might and industry of the 1400 people who build this circus. It's not scrappy, it's not bohemian, it's industry.
Mm.
And
Mhm.
the driving force of this movie is like inside baseball boardroom talks about
Yeah,
like
it's like
the
business decisions about the
yeah,
circus.
it's so weirdly inside baseball of like of like if we tour for the whole summer, then that follows our dreams. But if we tour for just 10 weeks, then like that can is guaranteed to be profitable. But like, do we, can we make ourselves profitable by being open the whole summer? Or it's like
Mhm.
who cares, you know?
Right, yeah. One of many things that I think kinda doesn't work about this movie. I guess, like, the main kind of, like, plot structure of this movie is it is kind of a love triangle movie where, between 2 circus acrobats and also the, like, director, question mark, of the circus, who dresses like Indiana Jones, which is
Yeah,
notable for a couple of reasons, which
played by Charlton Heston.
yeah. And then he's right. He's in a romantic relationship with this one acrobat, and then he hires this new acrobat who's like the famous. Is gonna like bring more crowds in. But this new acrobat is a real ladies' man, a real flirt.
He's a Pepe Le Pew type.
Very much so, despite being Italian and not French, and all the problems that causes. And then there's also a subplot about Jimmy Stewart as a clown who is actually a doctor who's on the run from the police because he's wanted for murder because he
He helped his
euthanized
wife.
his wife.
He helped with assisted suicide on
Yeah.
his wife.
This movie is insane. But it also this I feel like we're making it sound more interesting than it is. Like this I also find this movie weirdly boring for how crazy it
Okay, you know what? I thought this movie was okay. I didn't hate it. You hated it.
is.
You
I didn't
like
hate it, but I think it's very dumb and not good.
I was enjoying myself the whole time, and I think that if I was in a different mood and I watched this movie, there
Mm.
is so one of the other things that is in this movie, a big thing that is in this movie, is just uncut circus
Yeah.
footage,
A
you
lot
know?
like probably like 70% of this movie is just footage of a circus act happening.
And like there is, and then the plot just stops while
Mhm.
we like
fully. Like
watch.
it doesn't affect anything that happens to the characters before or
Yeah,
after. It's just, and here is the thing that
I mean,
happened at the circus.
sometimes it does, but like, okay, we're gonna watch this like pageant of people walk by. We're gonna watch some elephants do their thing now, and then we're gonna like cut to the crowd and say, "Wow, isn't this cool? I want to go to the Barnum and Bailey circuit.
Mhm.
I want to go to the
Yeah.
PT Cruiser Circus or whatever it's called." And I think if I was in a different mood and I was watching this, I would be like checking my watch and I'd be like, "Come on, like let's
Mm.
watch the actual movie." This time I was just like, you know what? I'm just gonna sink into the circusy vibes. I'm just gonna just enjoy it as sensation, you know? And so I was having fun.
Yeah. I mean,
I was
this is Cecil B. DeMille, known for sensation. Although I think I weirdly watched a lot of the movies for this episode in kind of a bad mood, which isn't a good way to do it. I did find like a lot of the like spectacle of this movie to be kind of lacking too. I mean, there's a lot of
yeah,
there is a lot of just like we're showing you the circus thing, but it's not filmed in an interesting way. It's
yeah,
usually just like a single wide shot, and I'm like, you're not using you're like, this is less exciting than being at a circus, and like
certainly.
you could be filming this from the perspective of the trapeze artist. You could be doing like POV stuff. You could be there's so much you could do filming a circus act, and this movie's doing none of it.
Yeah.
And then it also has like some of just like atrocious effects in it, like really terrible effects stuff.
This is like Arrested Development season 5 green screen.
Right. And like bad, like straight up bad editing is in this movie, which is a thing when it is like you rarely ever see like truly horrendous editing that it's like bad enough that you notice it and that like, oh, that cut just fully doesn't work. It's weird that Cecil B. DeMille is like held up as this, like he's like this like great Hollywood director. And he has done some like, you know, some cool stuff for sure. But like I find this movie to be shockingly poorly directed for sort of a you know, big spectacle DeMille movie.
It does feel like, you know, pretty phoned in many ways.
Mm.
Like we got a bunch of circus footage. I mean, if you were to think of this as an advertisement for the PT Cruiser Circus, like
Mhm.
it and you see it as like 70, it's not 70%, but like 70% circus footage with like a very thin narrative wrapped around.
Mhm.
It's just like we
A
did the bare
lot of trapeze drama.
yeah, we did the bare minimum to make this a story,
Right. Yeah.
but like, you know, it is the bare minimum, you
Yeah.
know.
And it feels like the bare minimum. I did not find any of it to be particularly compelling, I guess, like the
No.
plot stuff. Yeah.
No. Like you've got some very I mean that's why I was just kind of turning my brain off for this, because it's like you got some very thin drama that is surrounding a bunch of spectacle,
Mhm.
and it's not particularly engagingly filmed spectacle, but it is spectacle that was filmed.
Yeah.
It was spectacular things that happened,
Sure.
and I
But
don't necessarily need the cinematography to emphasize that, even though it would be better if it did, you know.
I also just got a sense of like a very 1950s sense of where it's just like, hey, look, we filmed the lion, and I'm like, yeah, I've seen lions before. It's like the movie kind of expects you to be like, whoa, a lion is in this movie. Wow, I'm looking at a lion right now. I'm like, yeah, I've seen the MGM logo already.
I mean, this
We can
movie is
move
also
on.
like
I've seen King
expecting you to
Kong.
be like, wow, there's a tent in this movie.
True. Yes. Look at the size of this tent. Can you believe how
There's
big this tent is?
a whole thing just like they wake up early in the morning and to sew the holes in the tent. They raise up tons and tons of tent material for your viewing pleasure.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, it is. And it feels like propagandistic, very much so. Like it's very circus propaganda. Also,
Yeah,
like
there's some
for a thing like I kind of think the circus shouldn't exist. Also, like at least in like all the animal stuff. Like
yeah,
there's just
there's a lot of
scenes
elephants
of
in
animal
this.
abuse in this movie where they're like poking elephants with hooks and shit. I'm like, this is bad and gross, and this should never have been a thing.
But on the other hand, like if I could just erase my awareness of all of the bad things about the circus and be one of those baby boomer children in the audience, like who are watching elephants do handstands, I would just be like, this is so cool.
Well,
you
sure,
know?
everyone loves to see an elephant do a handstand. I'm not arguing against that. I'm just saying we could preferably do it without abusing the elephant
Well, that's the thing.
visibly on screen.
Yeah, I think that elephants doing handstands and elephants being abused are the same thing.
I mean, yeah, ultimately it's true. You can't really get an elephant to do a handstand without hitting it. So yeah.
But yeah, another thing also, and maybe this was because I watched it right after a black and white movie, like I was able to kind of feel the sensation of it more because uh, it has very poppy technicolors.
Hmm.
Um, it's a the color in this movie is very good.
It is, yeah. And I will say, I do think it has one standout scene in it, which is like one of the most famous things about it, which is the big train crash, which I did think was cool.
Which made me go, "Whoa!"
Yeah.
Like
I think,
it is
whoa.
an extremely hectic and violent and extreme train crash.
Yeah, it's really it's like a lot of miniatures and some I think some there's there's some pretty fancy compositing. I will say for all of the complaints I had about a lot of the other lack of spectacle in the rest of the movie, the train crash is pretty rad.
Yeah.
So rad in fact that it inspired a little boy named Stevie Spielberg to crash his trains at home and film them with a Super 8 camera, and the rest is history. Which does make me think, like, how much of film history is just people being afraid of trains?
Yeah, you're not wrong.
You know, something to think about.
There's a
I will say I appreciate this movie for inspiring Steven Spielberg to make movies. I'm thankful that it exists for that reason. And again, right, that's like when Charlton Heston shows up in a leather jacket and fedora, you're like, interesting. But also, that costume existed for Indiana Jones before Spielberg joined as director. So, not a direct reference. But
oh, interesting.
an
That, of
interesting
course you would
parallel.
know that. Some other things about this film. I think that we have an understanding of like the end of the studio system as like Hollywood movies became too big and bloated when they were trying to
Hmm.
compete with television. And this feels like emblematic of that,
Mhm.
right? Like this is a movie that is destroyed by its bloat. I mean, it's like it would be bad if it wasn't bloated, but like
Right.
this feels like, Dr. Doolittle, like
Right.
an oversized 1950s movie
I will
that's
say
like
Dr. Dolittle is so much crazier than this movie.
it's like it's got like a bunch of stuff going
Right.
on. You
Yeah.
could cut 2 hours out of this movie and it would still
Easily.
work.
Right. Yeah.
Because it's just like, yeah, we're just gonna like put stuff on the screen. It's gonna
Right. Yeah.
meander. Like,
Yeah.
if it's a big 50s movie, it's gonna meander.
Mhm. Right. It's like, and you do get the sense like this was people showed up to this because they like wanted. This was their whole evening. Was like we're gonna watch a 3 hour movie about the circus. I think Steven Spielberg even said when he first sat down to watch it, he didn't. I mean, he didn't know what a movie was, so he was like, "I thought I was gonna see a circus. This is just like a flat representation of a circus on a screen. This sucks."
Wait, he didn't
Um,
know what a movie was, but he had a Super 8 camera to shoot back
well,
at
his
home?
his dad had a Super 8 camera. Watch The Fablemans, and it will explain all of this to you.
We'll get to it eventually.
It
Um,
will.
the circus manager, I've actually never seen a Charlton Heston movie before, so I was kind of noting his appearance. I was like, what's up
Mm,
with this guy? He looks
right. He's a distinctive
strange.
man.
Um,
It's true.
uh, his name is Brad, and the trapeze artist who is in love with him is constantly going like, "Oh Brad, oh Brad, oh Brad." And it's just like, "Oh Brad, so glad." It's I kept thinking about Rocky Horror through this
I also
movie.
one other thing I did like in this movie is the sort of like romantic rival trapeze artist Sebastian uh is introduced. He like arrives at the circus like in a police chase. Like he like drives up in a sports car and there are cops actively chasing him as when he
What
arrives.
swag? What
Right?
swag? Honestly,
Like
yeah.
that is a great character introduction to be like they arrive mid police chase.
Casually, yeah.
And then there's some point I forget. I think it's Brad who says he's like, "I got sawdust in my veins," to say that like he's a circusman through and through. I
Yeah.
just I love that as a like right sawdust representing the circus is a funny turn of phrase.
Yeah, another kind of wild thing that is said in this movie. There's a point after the train crash where Brad needs a blood transfusion and he gets it from his romantic rival, Sebastian. And then he says, if you make love later, it will be your blood in me. If you have kids, you'll see me in them, which is so
Insane!
nuts. That's
Insane!
crazy.
A crazy thing to say to someone. Absolutely.
Yeah, sure, he's your rival and you're giving blood to him, but like that is a wild place to go.
Yeah. Right. There is some just kind of bananas dialogue in this, which does make it fun.
Yeah.
Like for as long and as meandering as this movie is, it is kind of like every periodically will just throw something batshit at you where you're like, oh, I gotta sit up again. I gotta pay attention. Something
Yeah,
crazy's
yeah.
happening.
Yeah, there's like there are just random moments where the movie gets like insanely misogynistic and then just
Oh
forgets to
yeah.
do that
Yeah,
every once in a while.
there are some big old red flags in this movie.
I never knew a woman could fill a pipe.
Right. And, there's also a line which is like is not intended to be suggestive, I don't think, just because like the differences in 1950s slang to modern slang, where a woman says like, "Whenever he's around, I'm all wet," which is to
Yeah.
like 1950s slang saying "I'm all wet" means something very different.
Wait, what does it mean?
It means
I
like you're I forget what it is, but it's not sexual. Like there's no
uh-huh.
sexual connotation to it. But to modern ears, there for sure is. And so it made
Well,
me
because
laugh.
she's also lusting after him
Exactly.
too.
And
So
so I was
yeah.
like, wait, is that like a double entendre? Like how did they get that through the censors? And I was like, oh, it's the 50s. Like they weren't even their minds weren't in the gutter like mine is.
Yeah, I mean, there's another part. This happens all the time when we're watching these old movies. Is people using the word "gay" differently?
Right.
But they're
Yeah.
talking about how they want to make the circus fresh and new and gay and hot. I'm like, oh my!
What everyone wants the circus to be, right?
I mean, maybe that's what the circus is like these days, but I don't know. Last thing that I have to say, we talked about this a second ago, but like the green screen, because we're seeing it in color, we can see the like green fringes of light around people. it's
Mhm.
pretty it's pretty bad green screen, and there's a lot of scenes where they have sets that they could have used, like it's like the circus tent background that they like
Yeah.
shot a lot of stuff inside of that circus tent, and then they're just like inserting buttons, the clown,
Mhm.
like into a static frame
Yeah.
of the circus tent. We haven't seen green screen used in a lot of movies. I mean, like green screen, blue screen was used in Thief of Baghdad, the 1940 version,
Mhm.
but like this is a very conspicuous use of chroma key,
Yeah.
and it's also like being used, it seems, to like patch up holes, like things that they very easily could have filmed and
Mm.
then filmed on a set instead.
Much like how it's still used today.
I guess, yeah.
Like, oh, this is a scene of a guy in a room. Clearly green screen, but whatever.
Yeah, it's weird. Like I haven't seen, I mean, this is, I think, notable for just being like a really old movie that like
Yeah.
has green screen used in like a way that you would see a really sloppy modern
Mhm.
production use it.
Right. Yeah. No, it's like a high school film usage of green screen. It's like very obvious, very conspicuous, not artfully done whatsoever. So I mean, I was annoyed at this movie for like being sloppy, I guess.
Yeah, it's definitely sloppy. It's when it comes by, I'm all wet.
Yeah, there you go. This movie actually won not just Best Picture, but a now defunct Oscar for Best Story, which I think is I don't know why. Like
Once
if you're gonna
again,
give this movie any Oscars, like Best Story is a crazy choice. But
I mean, once again, like Oscar voters being dazzled by whatever is new and
sure,
spectacular,
yeah.
and voting for the dumbest possible thing that
Mm.
they could.
Speaking of things that are new and spectacular, also lions.
Three dimensions.
All right, everyone watching on YouTube, now is the time to put on your 3D glasses because we're gonna show a clip. in 3D.
Are you gonna put a clip in?
I gotta.
Okay.
I'll at least put a screen grab in 3D in, so you can see
Yeah.
a still image in 3D.
Do a screen grab of them coming toward each other to make out with the camera.
I think genuinely the only time where something was like coming at the screen in a real like conspicuous 3D way is both actors trying to kiss the camera.
Like leaning in and getting closer and closer. I literally screamed. I screamed.
It was like the train arriving at La Ciotat station. You would never have expected Robert Stack's big old face coming out of the screen at you to plant
Well,
a
apparently,
we're talking, of course, about the film
this.
Bwana Devil.
Oh, that's right. Yes, the movie. Apparently, the 2D version of this movie was passed by the censors, and according to, I couldn't find a good source for this, but according to Wikipedia, the 3D version was not, because of that scene in 3D.
Wow,
Because
it's too
because
steamy.
there is an added steaminess with like the kind of making out toward the
Right.
camera.
The actors aren't just kissing each other in this picture; they're kissing the audience.
Oh my, Robert Stack. This movie sucks.
Well, sure, absolutely, but it is notable for being the first narrative 3D feature film.
Asterisk, asterisk,
Sure,
asterisk.
sure. But I guess for all intents and purposes of like a narrative movie that plays in theaters in 3D, this is like the first one.
There was a silent film that is lost that did that. But
let's say not first, oldest existing is the phrase we always got to keep coming back to.
Yeah. What we can say is that this was the thing that ushered in the early 50s 3D era. Everyone was grasping for whatever gimmick they could to get people away from their idiot boxes and into theaters. And widescreen was one of them, and 3D was one of them, and buzzers in your seats was another one. Yeah, this was a 3D film that is based on a true story of two lions called the Man-Eaters of Tsavo, who basically in Kenya, while it was being colonized by England, and they were building a railway, the colonizers were building a railway, there were two local lions who kept eating people.
I mean, kind of awesome.
Yes. It's like, this is, in some way, to modern eyes, the lions are the heroes of the story.
Sure. I mean, it was, a symbol of Africa eating colonizers is, there's something poetic to that.
There's the tricky aspect, the confounding aspect that in this movie and in real life, the lions were mainly eating the migrant Indian laborers.
Right. There weren't a lot of English colonizers getting eaten.
The part in the movie where the lions start eating all of the asshole British people, they're having their tea time or whatever, and the lion bursts into their tent and rips them up. I was like, hell yeah!
No, that scene did definitely play as sort of like a bit of a fist pump moment. Cool to have a lion bust into a train car. I don't know. That's a cool thing to happen. I don't want it to happen to me, but it's like seeing it on screen. I was a happy camper. Also, in natural vision 3 dimension, which is what they call it. We gotta talk about, this movie has a like opening to kind of explain what 3D even is to the audience.
I think the opening's kind of interesting. I think the opening is way more interesting than the movie.
I do.
Itself.
I think the opening was kind of my favorite part because it has a much greater sense of humor about itself than the rest of the movie does.
Yeah, let's talk about the opening first. There's a guy that is introducing the concept of like a 3D film. He's sitting in a suit and he's talking to the camera. He's talking about like how it works. You know, you've got two lenses in the camera, their eye width apart, all this kind of stuff. It's introducing the concept of 3D to people. And it does something, and it's black and white and 2D. And then it does something which I think is pretty cool, where it goes, "Now, Mr. Projectionist up there in the booth, would you be so kind as to give us the third dimension?" And then it just snaps into 3D, which is
Yeah.
honestly a little jarring.
Sure.
It
Yeah.
like it.
Probably better ways to do that than
I
what they
watched
did,
that.
but
I watched that part where it transitions to 3D like 3 times, and it's like not smooth at all. It's just like,
Hmm.
and then it's
Yeah.
suddenly 3D, and it's oh god.
Whoa.
And then he says the most bananas thing that I have that they say in this movie. He brings out Miss Universe or whatever, Miss America, and this sexy lady comes onto screen, and while he's starting to talk about the 3D, and then he said, "First we have the silence, then we had the talkies, and now we have the roundies." And it's like, my bro, like you're like the first like this is our introduction to 3D, and we're like, "Hey boys, you know what you want to see." We know what you want to see. uh Crazy.
Yeah.
The chutzpah of it is wild. I thought it was hilarious. And also at the same time, there's like a little puppet show happening, and one of the puppets is trying, it like puts on like 12 pairs of 3D glasses, so that he can see her in extra 3D.
But in a
And he's like,
it like cuts back and forth between the puppets and the guy.
yeah.
And there's like jokes where it's like it cuts back to the puppet wearing more glasses.
Yeah.
That stuff, I actually thought that was like really
It's a funny joke.
I thought that was very fun. The puppets.
Yeah. The puppet stuff was and directed or produced by Bob Clampett. Maybe the same Bob Clampett from Looney Tunes, but that's kind of interesting. Yeah, he's got these roundies in his face, and he is he's trying to put on more pairs of 3D glasses to make them more round.
Right. A very 1950s way to introduce audiences to the concept of 3D movies. Certainly.
Yeah.
And then we get this 90-minute-ish movie about lions, which it was shot with 3D cameras. Like it wasn't, like the actual 3D
Shot
I think
on
is,
location in Africa.
yeah. So I think the 3D is it holds up pretty well. It's also it's other than that one makeout scene, it's not really very gimmicky in how it's using. There's not a lot of like lions jumping at the camera, like knives being brandished.
There's a spear
big
that goes for the camera once.
But even that it doesn't feel like the Three Stooges 3D shorts where they're like, poking the camera like directly. Like it's it was there, but it didn't feel necessarily super gimmicky. Which kind of surprised me that it's like the actual usage of 3D was surprisingly tasteful, considering how not tasteful so much of the rest of the movie is.
Right. This movie is uncritically pro-colonialism.
Yeah, this whole movie feels like a pulp magazine cover.
Yeah,
and that it is about a muscly man with like his shirt ripped fighting lions while a woman cowers next to him. Like that's the entire vibe of this movie.
That's a nice way of looking at it. And then the less nice way of looking at it is that it is about a guy who sucks so much, who is our main character, who is trying to defend these people who are doing the wrong thing from these lions who are just lions.
Right.
And
the lions already live there.
I hate everybody in this movie.
Yeah.
And it's not just like for political reasons of like they're doing something wrong. They just like it's wild to me how many times the movie takes the opportunity for the main character to just be a dick. Like there's
True, yeah. It's like the movie was almost going out of its way to be like, this guy sucks.
Yeah, but there's no critique. It's just like it thinks he's cool, I guess. It's very strange.
Yeah. This movie has a lot of stock footage in it, but which obviously was not shot in 3D, so that the way that they kind of give that an added sort of depth is they'll add something to the foreground to the stock footage. So if it's
put like brush in the
stock
front,
footage of
like
a lion walking or something like that, they'll put like some bushes in the foreground so that there's
it's crazy how much that doesn't work.
I don't know. I was kind of surprised. Like it's very obvious what they're doing, but I also appreciated the effort that was being put in. Like we have to give this shot some depth, otherwise it's gonna really stick out from the rest of the movie. It still
It
does stick
still
out.
does.
It
I
still
mean,
does, but like,
that's the thing is it's like I was just looking at that and I was like, you just can't do this, you know?
sure,
Like
yeah. It's interesting that they tried.
it looks so much more fake.
Yeah,
Like in 2D, it would look relatively fine.
right, yeah.
When you're having a flat plane of 2D behind some 3D stuff, the 3D effects almost made it worse, I think,
Mhm,
because it really just pointed out like this is stock footage.
yeah.
Speaking of the 3D, which is the only thing that's worth talking about with this movie, I have recently watched two movies with the like red and cyan 3D glasses.
Mhm.
I screened Creature from the Black Lagoon in my backyard 2 years ago.
Ugh,
And that's what I bought
the
these
coolest.
glasses for.
Also, the same exact movie why I have my pair of 3D glasses is I went to a
Mm,
screening of it in 3D.
nice. And then yeah, I had them kicking around, so I was able to watch this in 3D. And something that I was really noticing is that we're used to in our era of watching 3D glasses with polarized 3D,
Mhm,
um which was the kind of l- late aughts early 2010s resurgence of 3D.
mhm.
The kind of original 3D fad with these red and cyan glasses, you having to look through colors really causes problems.
Sure.
uh it warps all of the colors of the movie. And something that I was noticing is that it warps it very differently depending on what your dominant eye is.
Mm.
My left eye is dominant, and so the whole movie looked red to me.
Mhm.
I showed them to other people, and some people like some people who were right eye dominant, the movie was tinted blue, which seems a lot less aggressive than a movie that is red the whole time. And it's crazy that it can just vary so much, you
Yeah, I
know?
mean, this movie is in color, yeah, because there are colors besides red and blue in the
Yeah.
film.
I
I
think
think it does tend to kind of skew toward because it's a lot of like desert and I guess there's a lot of sky, which might be more towards blue. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it kind of maybe skews warm colors anyway. I don't know.
I mean, with Creature from the Black Lagoon, which is black and white,
Yeah.
it looked like it was just red and
Hmm.
white, or like black and red, you know.
Yeah.
But like a black and white movie with a cool blue tone is like a lot, it's a lot more
Sure.
approachable.
Yeah.
When I was watching this movie, I was trying to squint my left eye as much as
Hmm.
I could, and I was able to almost like bring the colors back into balance by squinting my left eye.
Mm.
Which, yeah, it just goes to show like the flaws in this obviously flawed
Right.
technology.
I definitely noticed something where I think on the red side, I would see like sort of ghosting from the other image from the
Yeah, there
blue,
was yeah, there was definitely some ghosting with this.
which I think is also just like an inherent kind of limitation to this version of 3D.
Every version of 3D pretty much, but
Yeah, it's a weird thing to film something with two cameras simultaneously and one for each eyeball. Also, this movie weirdly is like 70 minutes long and it has an intermission.
yeah. There's so much that's bad about
It
this.
truly, but I do also kind of think it's an interesting cultural object. Like it is as this sort of like
Yes.
this thing that kicked off the 3D craze of the 50s. It is just it's so of its time, mostly in bad ways, but it is just like it's something to behold.
This is structured a bit like a monster movie. It's like, they're getting stalked by these creatures. There's a creature lurking in the background. It's
Yeah.
picking off one person
Which
at a
also,
time.
there was another movie in the 90s based on the same historical lion attacks with Val Kilmer,
Yeah, I was curious
which
to
is
take a look at it.
also a bit silly. It's like Val Kilmer and Michael Douglas hunting lions. Better than this, but it's still sort of not great, I guess.
I like how before the tropes of horror movies were cemented, this kind of subverts it in a way, because the scene where the white people do get eaten by the lions, it is the people who are not having sex who are punished by being
Mm,
killed by a monster.
right, right. Yeah.
One other thing that I ought to say about this is that these real lions, once they were finally killed by the real life guy that Robert Stack is playing, he kept them. He kept their stuffed or their furs in his house, and then sold them to the Field Museum in Chicago. And I just passed through Chicago accidentally like a week ago, and I went to the Field Museum and I saw the real lions.
Damn.
So right after I watched Bwana Devil, we can throw that picture in there too.
There you go.
I got to see the real Bwana Devils and salute them for their
Their service.
their salute them for their anti-colonial action.
I guess another movie that is
Gimmicky.
trying some new cinema technology is Cinerama.
Welcome to Cinerama. This is Cinerama.
This is Cinerama. Welcome to Cinerama. Cinerama.
Niche reference.
This is less of a movie and more of a tech demo, I would say.
Yeah.
As it is not narrative. It's sort of a travelogue documentary, sort of variety show. I don't know. But Cinerama is notable, I suppose, for it early widescreen format.
The first, I believe. The actual, well, okay.
Well, there were
mind.
wider screens in like the 10s and 20s too. They didn't really catch on, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that like 1896 boxing match was widescreen.
But this is also notable in that it's such a sort of effortful and sort of extreme example of widescreen, and it's like the widest screen.
And yeah, it is. So Cinerama, we don't need to summarize any plot here, but we're going to summarize technology.
There you go.
Cinerama is a 3 projector process where the film is like portrait mode on essentially to use a new terminology. It is portrait orientation on 3 projectors that are projecting onto a curved screen. So that's using that to get extra width with the 3 projectors, and then they have seams in the middle that are meant to kind of perfectly line up with each other. And it's a very cumbersome thing to film, and it's a very cumbersome thing to project.
I mean, it's 3 cameras that have to be perfectly synchronized, and then 3 projectors that need to be perfectly synchronized.
And 3 film prints that need to have not aged at different rates so that they can mesh with each other.
And even when they were new, they had to go through the chemical bath exactly right. Like they had to be as close as possible, because then you'd see a seam if like the color is slightly off.
Yeah, and you know, these restorations are working with elements that have seen the test of time.
Yeah,
it's possible they were always not perfect, but like mostly you're not seeing the seams, but every once in a while the film is old enough that you can just see the seams.
And I mean, I think this movie has been restored really nicely and very well, and I'm really glad that we can watch it. I do think watching this on my TV at home, it feels like watching one of those This Is DVD commercials, but on a VHS tape, which is also where those existed, where it's like, DVD is so much clearer, the sound is so much better. And I'm like, it isn't though, because I'm watching it on VHS, which is what like watching this on a TV feels like. I'm like, I'm not really getting any of the actual benefits of what this format is for.
I've always wanted to see a true Cinerama projection, and my understanding is that there hasn't been one done in at least 14 years.
Right. Well, I mean, there's what, 2 in the country? I think there's the one in LA, which has been closed since COVID.
My understanding, I don't know this for certainly, but my understanding is that the Cinerama Dome in LA no longer has the Cinerama equipment.
Really? Interesting.
And the one in Seattle has the equipment, but hasn't used it in a long time and cannot call itself Cinerama for licensing reasons.
Interesting. Right. So it is, I mean, it effectively is a dead format. Like movies are not shot or shown in Cinerama anymore.
Until they make Brutalist 2 in Cinerama.
Right. Yeah. So the way in which it's usually kind of presented on a flat movie screen or TV is in smile box, which instead of a
Yeah.
letterbox of like having bars at the top and bottom, it's sort of, I don't know, extrapolating. Is that the right word?
Yeah.
It's trying to give a sense of the curved screen by
Yeah.
sort of warping the image in a,
Yeah.
you
There
know,
was a
funky way.
lot of, and I mean, I've played a DCP of How the West Was Won, which is
Mhm.
basically the only other notable Cinerama movie.
I mean,
It's This is
I
Cinerama
think
and
one of the
How the West Was
only,
Won.
I think there might have been a couple other narrative movies
I believe
besides.
there were only
uh,
two.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
They were like the
Uh,
full proper 3 camera system.
yeah. I played a DCP of How the West Was Won, and the DCP came as a smile box.
Mhm.
Yeah, this film, like Cinerama, is doing a lot of new things. It's really
Mhm.
pulling out all the stops. It's 3 projectors, it's widescreen, it is surround sound, and it's a curved
Mhm.
screen. And like Bwana Devil, This is Cinerama starts with a black and white 4 by
Right.
3 like it's like, here is the cinema you're used to,
Right.
get ready for the new cinema,
Yeah.
and it's a very similar presentation of like a guy in a suit talking to a
Mhm.
camera.
Right.
I think this one was pretty interesting actually, because it was sort of showing the like a kind of circa 1951 or 52 like historiography of
Mhm.
film,
Yeah.
right? It like it says the first film was made in the Black Maria, The Kiss. It's like, that's not true. Uh
Right.
Great Train, and then it called Great Train Robbery the first feature film. Not true.
Right.
Uh,
And I was thinking the same. It's like, we know all this stuff isn't true because we've done this show.
I think there was so much interesting, so much interesting stuff about like the way that this early part was presented. Like it is like an art history thing too. It's like talking about like the earliest cave paintings. It's like talking about like the history of depiction of things,
Mm.
which is kind of wild, you know?
Yeah.
It shows like silent film, and I think that's also like a kind of interesting thing is that it shows silent film with a soundtrack, and it is a soundtrack that they like added on to this film. But it's showing silent film soundtracks to people who have heard silent film soundtracks before, right? It is not like, here's what we're imagining silent film sounded like. It's
Mm.
like, here's what silent film sounded like from 30 years ago. Some of you remember this,
Mhm.
But yeah. And then like Bwana Devil, it also has a moment where it goes, all right, get ready.
But
Here we
it's
go.
much better done in this. This is like, it's
Yeah.
really making a big moment out of it, and it is doing a great job, I think. Where it is showing a film of like the front POV of a being on a roller coaster, and as the roller coaster goes up the tower or whatever, the screen gets wider and wider and wider until it's, well, if you were actually watching it in a Cinerama theater, it'd be all around you. It'd be like curving into your peripheral vision.
Yes. And I put this on in a movie theater and I sat in the front row.
To get as close
And
as possible to get a little,
and
yeah.
I gotta say, when they went from that 137 picture and then
Mhm.
pulled it out to the Cinerama, I was enthralled. I was
Mm.
like, I was on board for it. I was like, I feel like I'm in this role. I was it was great.
Yeah.
I really liked it.
So, funny thing about that exact gimmick of like the screen widening out, which is also funny that is sort of kind of getting brought back a bit now with like in Sinners having the IMAX scenes actually, like, getting taller,
Yeah.
like the letterbox getting actually physically moving. Cinerama was partially developed, or like one of the big kind of proponents of it who helped it get off the ground was Marion C. Cooper, co-director of King Kong. And one of his early pre-King Kong sort of silent, sort of semi-documentary movies had a scene of an elephant stampede that he did a similar thing where he had, I'm not sure how they actually did it. I think they might have just cropped the movie and then like uncropped it or something like that. But they had a thing of like elephants coming at the camera and the screen physically widening as the elephants
Hmm.
are coming at it. And I don't know, I just think it's interesting that he's been doing that trick for decades at this point, right? He did it in like the 20s, and I was doing it again in the 50s, of being like, yeah, but what if the screen gets bigger while you're watching it? Like, that was just a thing that he like kept coming back to, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. That roller coaster, I think, is at the beginning is definitely like the most iconic part of this
Hmm.
movie,
Right.
and it's a banger way
Right.
of
That's the thing.
introducing you to
Is it
this whole
that roller
thing.
coaster thing is great, and then it's like, oh yeah, there's also like there's like 2 more hours of this.
Yeah, I was definitely getting pretty bored by the end of this
Right. Well, I think
movie.
right. It is a thing where it's like, I think if you were to sit in a theater and watch this whole thing in proper Cinerama, it would be a lot more interesting. It would still get a little slow. I still think it is a bit
It's
maybe
laying it
over.
on too thick.
Right. It's laying on too thick. It's a bit overestimating how interesting the stuff they're filming is sometimes. I think a lot of the like travelogue stuff, like in Venice, is very pretty and is these like great, like they're like panorama photos because they're so wide. So you're seeing this like huge expanse of just space that is really cool to see, even if it's in this sort of, we're seeing a facsimile of what this is supposed to be. It's does this is like watching Bwana Devil in 2D. It's sort of like, well, it's approximating what this thing actually is supposed to be, but it's still, I think some of the stuff is pretty cool, even if it is sort of like, I'm like, I get how cool this would be if I was watching it properly.
Yeah, I think the thing is, when they pulled the screen out and it went to the roller coaster. I have seen widescreen movies before, and
Right.
so it wasn't
Yeah.
brand new to me,
Right. Yeah.
but like I still was able to be like,
But
"Whoa,
but there's like
so cool."
showmanship to
But
it. Yeah.
but like it simply being widescreen was
Right.
not enough for me to carry me through the rest
Yes.
of the
Right. And then
movie.
once it gets to the extended water ski section, I
Oh
was
my
I was
god.
starting to feel a bit, starting to lose my focus a bit.
Yeah, there is a lot of this movie that is water skiing, and I don't know why.
Yeah.
It
I
kinda
mean, I'm sure it was, I'm sure it would be cooler to see if you've never seen widescreen or, that stuff. Like, but
it kind of
there's a
feels like
lot
a
of it. Yeah.
co-branding exercise with this specific water ski place in like water ski
Right.
show in
Yeah.
Florida, I think. They make so many mentions of like the specific place and the
Hmm.
guy who owns it, and they make like a little fake story of like one of the water ski ladies is late for her shift. Oh no,
Yeah. Well, it's because she tried to help someone who fell. Like, come on, why is she getting punished? It's heartbreaking. I mean, some like that, right? That kind of tries to give you a bit of a narrative to like follow through that stuff. I actually liked the kind of less narrative stuff that was just sort of like, look at this landscape, right? There's like helicopter shots that are really starting to look at.
Yeah, the end of the film is, or it's not a helicopter, it's like an airplane like flying
It's an
through a
airplane, right? Yeah,
gorge
very cool.
and over very American landscapes, and
Hmm.
then My Country 'Tis of Thee is being
Right, which is
played.
right. It's like, all right, land on a little thick, but like some of that stuff reminded me of like the really early like actuality movies where it's just like, we're just
Yeah,
gonna, right, because the camera rig is so massive and heavy, like they can't really move it at all, so it's just sort of like, here's a single static shot of just like a street, but look how wide it is.
yeah, I mean it's just like, just like those, it is like those ones were like, here's a static shot of a street, it's moving,
Right,
you know.
yeah.
It's like a new technology, it's a cumbersome
Hmm.
technology, and so you're just like, hey, just soak in the technology itself.
I mean, one thing I asked you about this, and I did some more reading up on it. Like watching this reminded me, it felt like the kind of the 1950s equivalent of VR, and that made me think like, oh, is there a way to watch this in VR? Because then you would actually get the 3D effect of it, of like
Yeah,
the screen is curving around you. As far as I know, no one has like, taken a DCP of this movie or like a file of it and like actually made a sort of like VR version of it. If anyone's listening to this and knows how to do that, that's a good project to do. I support it. That might be
but yeah,
like one of the only ways to like properly experience this format outside of a real theater.
yeah, true. One thing that I also thought about VR, but in a different context, is that there is this light narrative stuff. There are times when it's trying to like have your eye look in a particular part of the screen, but
Hmm.
similar to VR filmmaking, there is an issue with focus here,
Mm, hmm.
right? And not like camera focus, but like visual focus, of like where am I supposed to look?
Hmm.
Because these are all such wide, pulled back, objective shots that like when they're trying to like have you look at a certain thing, it's like floating in this big mass of other stuff because they're more concerned with showing you the bigness of everything than showing you a specific
Hmm.
piece of it. And so yeah, like the shot composition is actually like kind of strange in this because it's just
Hmm.
so oriented toward like w- what is so oriented toward the technology and not like even the thin story.
Right. I'm really curious to watch How the West Was Won because that is just like a narrative film using the same
Yeah,
format, and
I remember it
I'm
not being too much of a problem. It's been a long time
mm,
since I watched it.
but even that was like 10 years after this movie, something like that, I think.
Yes.
And of course, next year, next episode, we'll talk about CinemaScope, the you know the widescreen format that stuck, I guess. That was
Yeah.
a lot less cumbersome.
Yeah, VistaVision, CinemaScope, like just like there were a bunch of competing 3D systems, but there were also a
Hmm.
bunch of competing widescreen systems.
Yeah.
And yes, CinemaScope is definitely the most practical because all you need is a new lens, not a
Right.
new projector or two new
Yeah.
projectors.
But yeah, that's Cinerama.
That is Cinerama.
That
That
is
was Cinerama.
that was Cinerama. Yeah. Right, like I said, like I'm glad that we were able to watch it, but it felt it's like I'm not able to actually experience what they're trying to sell with it, which is kind of frustrating.
Yeah, I would really like a VR version. I think that would be fun.
Right, cuz it's like that or like, open that dome back up, which hopefully will happen someday, but right, even then they probably won't be showing Cinerama movies there.
I mean, you
I
we
I
can also, I
I
mean,
can only hope.
truer than VR, we could recreate Cinerama by putting up a real curved screen at the same curve angle
Yeah.
and just setting up three digital
That's the
projectors.
thing is like if the museum of the moving image, even if they had like a really small curved screen in like a little room that they would just show this movie on a loop on just to like this is what this format is. This is a thing that, existed. I think that could also be really cool.
I believe that there is some like home theater that exists somewhere that has functioning
Mm,
Cinerama. Like I think I saw a picture of it. It's like a
mm,
small thing. It's a private
yeah.
screening room, but there is functioning Cinerama like in
Well,
one place.
I think the Museum of the Moving Image should do that. I think that'd be a good venue for that.
Get on it, Momi.
Yeah. Big fan of Momi over here.
What is what was your favorite movie?
I think it was Ikiru. Yeah, it definitely was Ikiru. That's definitely the one that I got the most kind of emotionally invested in. I was the most
Mhm.
impressed with like the filmmaking of it. And it was the one that I think I've just kind of thought about the most since also.
Yeah, I thought Akira was good. I think that it didn't make as much of an impact on me as I had expected it to,
Mm,
because there is something a little reserved about it. And I like movies that go for my guts and grab them, and that was High Noon for me.
mm.
I thought High Noon is such a banger. I
You're
thought it
like
was.
Ikiru pretty good, but what if it had more like gunfights in it?
What if?
What if there was like a big fight? What if that happened? What if there was like a cowboys and stuff? I'm sorry, I don't mean to. I think
You
it's
calling me
no.
stupid?
I think that is a very worthy favorite film. It's very good.
High Noon is so cool, and I mean, I was kind of just vibing with it for a while, and then I was experiencing it getting more and more intense, and I was really impressed with how like gripping and intense
Mm.
that movie got. And I gotta give it Gotta give it its flowers for that.
Nice.
It's joined the hallowed halls of the favorite movies segment of our podcast.
Deserved.
Well, that is about it for that episode. Oh, I guess we should mention also, we already covered Singing in the Rain. I rewatched Singing in the
Right.
Rain. The movie that was robbed when Greatest Showman won, or whatever you call
Right.
it.
Right. The elephant in the room, we conspicuously are not talking about Singing in the
Yeah.
Rain this episode. Yeah.
Yes. I love Singing in the Rain. 5 out of 5. It's an incredible movie. It's one of the best movies ever made.
Yeah.
But I feel like I said everything about it that I am going to say about
it. Yeah. We had
it.
almost a whole episode about it.
So consult our 20s Decade in Review episode if you would like to see us talk about Singing in the Rain. But
Indeed.
yes. If okay, you know what? If Singing in the Rain was in this episode, it would be my favorite. It is not. So it's high noon.
Yeah. It probably would be my favorite too, but Ikiru's is up there. I like Ikiru a lot.
Well, okay, thanks everybody for watching and listening and
Indeed.
seeing, tasting, smelling this episode.
Thank you for smelling this episode.
we're the podcasts are getting so much competition from other media sources, so we gotta introduce smell-o-vision and widescreen podcasts. And
I do want to start
all the gimmicks.
referring to 3D movies as roundies.
I just went to go see the James Cameron Billie Eilish roundie. We got our social medias. Click on those with your telephone or your computer if you would like to see what we're up to, or see us post a little bonus stuff every once in a while on Instagram. And stick around for 1953. There are so many movies that we need to look at in 1953. I have no idea how we're going to pick what we're doing. You will see us talk about some of them, but know that there are so many more that are worth talking about that we know.
As increasingly, I feel like every episode is that way. But yeah, 53 especially. It's gonna be rough to work out the lineup.
Yeah. Well, stick around for that. And Glenn, thanks for joining me, and I will see you next year.
See you next year.
First, we have the silence. Next, we have the talkies. And third and last, we have the roundies.